30 to 40 minutes late. She will get here as soon as she can. She asked for me to let all of you know that she's on her way as soon as she can get here. So the first item agenda would be roll call and verification of quorum.
Mr. Ebel?
Here.
Ms. Erler?
Here.
Ms. Faxon?
Here.
Mr. Levine?
Here.
Ms. Rano?
Here.
Ms. Scott?
Here.
Ms. Scheer?
Here.
Ms. Totten?
Here.
8 present, 1 excused. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 3 is approval of the agenda.
Move for approval as printed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so I had a motion by Scott and second by Faxon. Any discussion or changes? All right, Sue, could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Faxon?
Yes.
Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Ms. Rano?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Scheer?
Yes.
Ms. Totten?
Yes.
Mr. Ebel?
Yes.
Ms. Erler?
Yes.
Passes 8-0, 1 excused.
We are on item 4, which is the Pledge of Allegiance, and the pledge will be led by Kennedy Elementary cadets, Allie Kinney, Alexander Cornell, and Carlin Phillip. Right on up, girls. All right. When you guys are ready, start.
Now, if you would all please stay standing, we have a special treat. Gentlemen, if you would come in.
And we are going to have the Stevens Point Barbershop Group is going to sing the national anthem for us. Bill Rudall, Jack Edgerton, Bill Jenkins, Tim Kunze, John Lay, Norm Barnard, David Poplinski, and Dale Klutz.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red gliders in midair gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
So girls, if you could stay up here, and gentlemen, if you guys could wait just a minute. So we're going to take a picture with the girls and meet their parents, and then we'll get a picture with the group of you guys as well. Okay. Turn around.
Okay, at me.
So, see if their parents are here.
Are parents of these fine young ladies with us tonight? There's one in the back. Okay, there's a couple.
Over here.
Ah, and over here too, watching the crew.
Crew over
Okay,
here.
thank you all for
Thank you
coming.
very much for letting the girls come and do that for us.
Okay, would you want to meet the governors?
Thank you for leading us. Great job. Thank you.
Gentlemen, come on around and shake hands with the board if you'd like.
Thank you for coming.
And I'll also put a commercial plug in. Valentine's Day is coming up this weekend, and this group is available for hire for you to send to your loved
That
one
way, guys.
anywhere in the city.
Bill, come on,
They'll do a
lead them.
wonderful
Sneak
show
back
for
that
you.
way.
So,
Wait a minute, are we going to introduce the parents? Hi, Sam.
You know, Lady Gaga did a good
Nice
job
job, sir.
yesterday, but these guys were awesome too, right?
I can't let you guys interview your parents. It's not fair.
Great job. Thank you so much.
Great job. Great job.
Thank you.
Great job.
You've been enjoyable.
Thank you very much. Thank you, good job.
Great job.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you. Great job. Thank you. Great job.
Nice warm hand.
Now we have our community partnership and recognition. Is Haley Marshke here and Jan Van Dresser? Haley and Jan, would you like to come on up? These are representatives from the Noon Optimist Club, Stevens Point Noon Optimist Club, in recognition of the significant contribution to the Stevens Point Area Public School District for sponsoring the freshman formal for 9th grade students at Ben Franklin and PJ Jacobs. Since 2013, the Stevens Point Noon Optimist Club has donated the profits of the dances, a total of $2,800 to Ben and PJ. And I should also mention that all the organization that goes into these folks provide the place, the food, the tickets, everything that's involved. So let's give them a big hand. Want to say anything?
Yes, definitely. Hi, everyone. I'm Haley Marshke. I'm president currently of the Stevens Point Noon Optimist Club. We are so honored to be receiving this Community Service Recognition Award. The Optimists work each day to make the future brighter by bringing out the best in children, in their communities, and in themselves. What we really do on a club level is focus our energy on the youth in our community. Any donation, project, or event is all geared towards supporting the kids in Portage County. We try to cover all age groups as best as we can, from donating funds to provide car seats for infants, to doing Cardboard City at Art in the Park, to dictionaries for 3rd graders each year, presenting 6th graders from a different school with an award for our Youth of the Month, and to the freshman formal for the 2 junior highs, which is this weekend. We also provide donations to local groups in our area, such as YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and many more. A lot of this also, we do partner with our morning club, so we want to recognize them as well. And we do have an Optimist creed we follow, and by far my favorite line in it is to be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own. We try and help others in our community to succeed and make Portage County a better place to live and raise our families. We have such a great group of people in our club, and every single one of them is worthy of this award. Without all of their help, we could never make these contributions to the kids in our area. On behalf of all of our members of the Stevens Point Noon Optimist Club, we thank you for this honorable award. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Comment.
Yes, no, thank you.
Sneaking away without shaking?
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm the capture of all.
Thanks so much for all you do.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry about that, I wasn't gonna let you sneak away. Thank you.
And now we're going to have the Mandana Bliss Award student, and I don't know if I'm going to get this right, if it's Ryson Willis from Washington Elementary. Hon, you want to come on in? Come right up here and you can come to the microphone. Did I say your name right? Is it Roisin? Roisin. It's really close. So there you go. You're on, hon.
This is my 7th year at Washington School, and there is one teacher who really stands out as one of my best teachers. Her name is Mrs. Anderson. Mrs. Anderson was a good teacher who cared about her students. She was fun, organized, kind, but firm enough to handle our class. Mrs. Anderson was instrumental in my elementary school experience, and I'm sure in many others too. The first reason that Mrs. Anderson is an extraordinary teacher is that she helped me become a better student. Mrs. Anderson challenged me to work hard in all my subjects. Towards the end of the school year, I got really into reading, and now language arts is my favorite subject in school. Mrs. Anderson was an exciting teacher who made even boring old multiplication facts fun. The second reason Mrs. Anderson is a great teacher is that she works hard at her job. In third grade, I remember seeing an overflowing basket of papers that she would have to grade, and somehow she got through all of those papers. Sometimes in third grade, I would have to bring my violin, and sometimes I would forget it. And my dad and I would come to school around 5 o'clock to pick it up, and Mrs. Anderson was still there working at her desk. One other thing that Mrs. A does very well is that when our class gets super wild, she somehow handles us, but she doesn't act mean, and I know that is hard to do. One of the main reasons I think Mrs. Anderson is a great teacher is that she works on each student's academic needs. When I was in third grade, I remember being separated into groups that fit each student academically. Being in those groups really pushed me, and I'm sure many other students too, to work hard and get into a more advanced group. One last thing I liked about being in Mrs. A's class is that she explored new topics I never got to learn about before. In third grade, our class got to try some plays, which was fun because I never got to do a play before. In our class, we got to explore different genres of books, which helped me become open-minded about reading new books. One last fun thing we got to do in third grade was when we did fun projects, which helped me learn a lot, but also kept me interested in the subject. I hope now you can understand how much Washington School values and appreciates Mrs. Anderson. Mrs. Anderson works very diligently to work on each student's individual needs and help each student reach their potential in school. Mrs. Anderson is a wonderful, kind teacher, and she will always continue to be.
Mrs. Anderson here, I hope. Picture.
We need you to go a little further up.
Come out here. I get to be in it.
Okay, at me.
Thank you.
Have any parents?
Parents, where are the parents? So there they are. Thank you very much.
Where's your parents?
Really awesome. I can tell you're a good reader. The words you use are great. Congratulations. She's amazing. And she's been mentored by somebody amazing. Thank you so much for what you did. You did a great job.
They must know you were coming today. Maybe it was helpful.
Thank you. Great job. Congratulations.
And now student Dan Zadroik from SPASH is going to present the Mandana Bliss Award. Step up here.
Okay. My name is Dan Zdroik. I'm a senior at SPASH, and I would like to take a second just to thank one of my tech ed teachers, Mr. Dan Strobel, who I was informed could not make it tonight. Mr. Dan Strobel has inspired me to succeed in more than one way. He's very supportive of Wisconsin's Youth Apprenticeship Program and worked closely with various local employers to help students build their careers. For example, I took his machine tool technology course junior year, knowing absolutely nothing about precision manufacturing. As I learned about it, I became very interested in it, and he exposed me to local companies that specialize in that type of manufacturing. One of those companies was Martin Machining, and Mr. Martin's standing right over there. Hi, Al. He let them know I was very interested in what they do, and they hired me. I've been there for over a year now and plan on making a career out of it. And I would also like to take 1 second to thank Miss Brigida Austin and the work she has done for the SPASH Career Center, the Youth Apprenticeship Program, and for me. She's worked her tail off the last couple years to give students like me and many others opportunities and inspiration to succeed after high school. And I know I'm not the only person who would say that same thing, so thank you both.
teacher. Do it. It's part of the gig. And now you get to meet the word.
Parents?
You're really appreciated.
Sure, sure.
Tomorrow at 9.
Great job. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Oh,
Now, Ms. Sherrick has a special award to announce. Would Nestor Vega please come up? Nestor?
Esther, now you think you're nervous? I'm nervous standing here. Never done this before. Did you ever think when you walked and knocked on the door on Tuesday night to shovel snow that you would be standing here today? No. This young gentleman came and knocked on my door Tuesday night after the snowstorm. He was trying to raise money to go to freshman formal. That's what you told me, right? So while all other kids are sitting on the couch watching TV or playing with their technology, maybe fighting with their parents to shovel their own driveway, he's out going around, and at that time I had a cast on, didn't I? So look, and I'm doing better though, went to the doctor, doing better. So he said, I never done a driveway before, and that's what I did. I made him do. We negotiated a price, didn't we? Very good. Entrepreneurism, very good. Kept looking at the driveway, looking at me. Did an awesome job. There was a little miscommunication between the two of us, right? Yeah. That snow pile at the end. So next time, we taught each other something to be clear. Understand what job you're getting into for the $10, and then me to make sure I'm clear, right? However, he did not stop there. He went and finished the job, cleaned out the whole end of my driveway as we talked a little bit and I got to know him. And now you realize what I was doing, right? Yeah. So then I learned also at PJ Jacobs, because he's a student at PJ Jacobs, you were also honored for Student of the Month. Yeah. So he's not only something that he did for me and probably other people around here, but he's known for that. And the principal, Jeff, said, I mean, he's a good student, he's a good person from a good family. So I want to thank the parents. And are the parents back there?
My mom.
Okay. Good job. Good job. So I went around looking, and I got something special for you from Circle of the Date, worked with us, which I know you know already, right? Because we had to kind of push you to get there, so you look really nice at freshman formal. So again, we want to thank you for your entrepreneurism. He's gonna go places, and if you need someone to back you, you know where my door is, right?
Yes.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You're nervous. Great job.
Ah, way to go.
John, have fun. Good work, and have fun.
Hey, congratulations.
Have a great time.
Thank you. You're welcome. Keep up the good work.
And now we have some more great things to let you know about tonight. Is Joe Klopotic here? Joe? Come on up, Joe. So Joe Klopotic is the debate coach from SPASH. And the last time he was here, we knew that a lot of the students had qualified to go to state, but now Joe's going to bring some kids up here and tell you about their results. So first, we're going to do Jessica Meadows and Abigail Glom. And they were 7-1 in varsity. They won the state varsity champions. So there's one of them. I guess the other one couldn't be here tonight.
Yep, unfortunately she couldn't be here tonight.
Okay, well, she gets half the trophy. Right? Okay. So what a great honor. You want to go ahead and talk about the rest of them?
Oh,
I
sure.
got their names, but if you want to do it.
All right.
Ella, that's next.
Okay. The next recognition will be Ella Swiston, who was the top speaker in the novice switchside division at state. Ella is a 9th grader and that was our first year with ninth graders, and both of them did very well. Also, her partner, Emily Johnston, fourth best speaker at Novice at State. I believe not present were the finalists in the novice division. That was Jessie Stanesky and Faith LeMay. Or Jessie Stanesky and Emily Young. They were the finalists. They lost in the championship round, but were the finalists in that division. Also, Faith LeMay, who was the 8th best speaker in Novice at State. Just so you know, there were 76 total speakers.
Wow.
So we had the 1 and the 4 and an 8.
Okay, let's give them another round of applause. We're going to take your picture.
They've seen me before.
And if you'd like to, please go.
Do they have any parents here?
Oh, parents. Parents, are you out there? There's one. Oh, there they are. Thank you, parents. Great job. I got a chance to hear this young lady do a debate in front of all the CISA superintendents, and I could not believe how fast they talked. Unbelievable. So congratulations, you did it. That's fantastic.
Sure.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations. You guys did an awesome job.
Congratulations.
Awesome. So,
Looks like the future's bright now, huh?
thanks so much, Josh. Great job.
It's amazing.
You did a pretty good job too, sir.
Congratulations. Great job. Thanks. Congratulations. Great job.
The next group to come up here would be the football academic all-state team. And do we have some representatives from that team here? Are they out there in the wings? Here we go. Here's Pete.
Just tackle them as you come
Want
in.
to bring them in? We have Mac Jornell, Evan Malik, and Colton Vogt. Or Vogt. Did I say it right? Wrong? Vogt. Okay. So football all-academic state team. And Pete, do you want to say anything?
Sure. The first time they did this was this year, and it's calculated based on your seniors' average GPA. We had 22 seniors with a 3.33 grade point average. And also, we were the only team in the Valley Football Association South Division to earn this recognition. With 16 teams in both the North and the South, there were only 2 teams, us and Kimberly High School also was academic all-state. So it's quite an honor for these young men, and all 3 of these individuals and 3 other individuals were also earned individual academic all-state award, and that's to have a cumulative GPA of a 3.7 or better. So congratulations.
Great job. I left my black thing at home. We're going to get a picture. And if you would call down.
Parents.
Parents, oh, I keep forgetting. There's parents here. Are there any, there's one? Thank you, Mom.
They're seniors, they
Dad.
probably came themselves.
Yeah, they drove.
I love it. Grades in football. I love it. Congratulations. Great job.
Congratulations.
Great job, congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for motivating.
Thanks.
Good job, Coach.
Thank you.
Okay, is Don Benke here, the cross-country academic all-state team. There he is. And Derek Franz and Sam Smith, are they here?
No.
No.
They're out running, right?
I'm the only person that didn't have homework tonight.
We're running late.
You can tell everybody about your team.
Well, the qualification for this particular award from the Wisconsin Cross Country Coaches Association, you have to qualify for the state meet as a team, and you have to have a grade point average of 3.5. Our grade point average this year was 3.79.
Wow.
We've been to 37 of the last 39 state cross country meets. We have never failed to earn this award. So it's one of these things we kind of take for granted because each year we have the kind of kids that are not afraid to work hard in the classroom and on the cross country course. So we're very proud of our young men, and I will pass this along to them. So.
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you. Good job.
Great job again.
becoming a fixture walking around here, aren't you? Keep it up.
Okay, the next award goes to Diane Mrozinski. Carl, is Diane out there with you, or is she in here? There she is. Diane, guess what? You got to come up here in front of the camera. We're going to talk all about you. Carl, do you want to introduce her? Okay. I've got a nice write. Let's read that.
Okay, well, I wrote out summarize it. We wanted to recognize Diana because she does so much for Madison School. It says the popcorn lady. That's just one of her many things that she brings to our school. She pops popcorn for us every Wednesday. Any event that we have, she does that. Anything that goes out to the media for Madison School, it's coming through Diana. So she's also always willing and excited to greet our students as they come through the door. She's just a great representative of the community that we're just so happy to partner with at Madison School. So we're thrilled to have her, and we just wanted to make sure the community knows what a great partnership we have with her. So thank you.
When I retired, I said I wanted to do kinder and gentler things. And there is nothing kinder or gentler than being the popcorn lady at Madison.
With me?
And one of my most thrilling, the things that give my heart the most joy is when I'm at the grocery store or at the park or even at church, I see somebody, there's the popcorn. Oh, or the kids that run up and give me a hug, and sometimes the mothers or the fathers are, who are they hugging? And then I have to explain that I'm the popcorn lady. And that just really does thrill my heart. But Madison School, I could be doing an article on Madison School every week. And this year I haven't done quite as much because I have a new knee, and that's taken all my time. But there's so much going on at Madison School that Carl and the teachers and the staff and the students are all so wonderful, and I love being there. It just thrills me to be there. That's Wednesday morning is the only morning that we set an alarm clock because I'm up at 6 so I can be to school by 7:30, and we call it going to work, but it's hardly work. It's just a wonderful experience, and I thank you for honoring me, but I feel like I should honor all of you for giving me the opportunity to be at Madison School.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
You're all invited for popcorn on Wednesday.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And Tootsie Rolls.
Although Brad's not very happy with this.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Yeah, the school bus drivers aren't the happiest.
Yeah, I don't want to screw you.
Hey, I can get them out, John.
Remember when we used to get hollered at, they need to eat it before they get on the bus.
Thanks. Did you bring any popcorn?
No, I didn't.
I'll have to come visit you.
Yeah, it was a joyous job. Did it?
I worked with her for 2 years.
Yes, yes.
But he's got no
Now I'd like to let you all know that, come on up, Brad. Brad, right in here. Yeah.
A water bottle.
So Brad Caribou, our transportation manager, this is School Bus Driver Week for the state of Wisconsin. I have a little proclamation to read. Whereas more than 15,000 school bus drivers in the state of Wisconsin travel more than 82 million miles a year in transporting more than 800,000 students to and from school every day. And whereas these drivers and the owners and operators of school buses have promoted and practiced the highest standards to assure the protection of their passengers, and whereas the Wisconsin School Bus Association, through its board of directors, pledges its full and dedicated cooperation with the Department of Transportation's Office of Transportation Safety, Division of Motor Vehicles, and the State Patrol, the State Advisory Council of Highway Safety, the Department of Public Instruction, schools, law enforcement agencies, PTAs, and other organizations in promoting public awareness of the importance of school bus transportation. Now, therefore, it's not really me, Scott Walker, Governor of the State of Wisconsin, do hereby proclaim February 8th through 12th as School Bus Driver Recognition Week throughout the state of Wisconsin, and I commend this observance to all of our citizens. So on behalf of the board and all of the citizens, thank you, and please pass on our thanks to all of them.
There's some out there.
Where are they? Folks, this is for you. Just a few of them, so. And this is for you.
They're just talking about my tie. I need a new tie.
There you go. There's a bus tie for you. Come on up, everybody. We'll get a picture with you.
Got a new tie.
We'll see if we can't get a picture. Good luck. Well,
You're shorter.
Yep, come on, Ralph.
shorter. Okay, so, you know what? If we could, I'm going to ask you quickly to tell me how many years you've been driving, okay? 5?
21.
21?
10, 11.
10, 11? 8?
11.
11? 11?
15.
15?
16.
16? 3?
My 12.
12?
1.
1, okay, you win. So, stay with us, okay? All right, great. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll get a picture.
Brad, you gotta be in or out?
Oh, I know.
It's going to be in.
He should be kneeling in front.
Okay, at me on 3, I'm kind of above everybody. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for coming.
Remember, we go
I expect you to be wearing that tie.
Start of the day.
Yeah, you can tell you deal with the kids. Thank you for getting our kids back and forth safe.
I watch you guys all the time.
You gotta go
around.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
She's going on that
Driving all the
bus.
kidlets.
No, Brad, you neither. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all you do. Thank you. Thank you.
For driving all the kids.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah,
Good heart too. No.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, you guys. Thank you. Tell everybody thank you. Thank you. Now we'll do it. Thank you very much.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody, for driving. Is Al Martin around? So we'd like to...
He's still here.
He's still there?
Yeah.
Al, come on in. I want to talk about the donation that Al made. Come on up, Al.
Another one.
and we should probably bring his point.
Another one.
And is Deb here too? The power behind the
The
throne?
power behind it.
We know how that goes. Come on, Deb.
I don't have to explain it then.
No.
We all know.
So the Martins have done so much for our students, and you just heard from one of the students earlier, Dan, about the internship and the thing that they do, but they also donate a lot, and they donated a metal lathe for a value of $1,500 to SPASH. So thank you very much on behalf of the SPASH students who are going to be able to use that. We appreciate everything you do for our kids.
More than a flying
And you, sir.
Thanks for everything.
Still working on that?
Thank you again. Thank you.
All right, and you will bring you back for that.
Yeah. Thank you for everything.
Thank you again.
And for our district showcase tonight, we're going to learn a little bit more about expeditionary learning from the Point of Discovery School. So Jen and Dan, and you got some students there. Take it away.
You didn't learn this much when she was on the board.
The evening is yours, at least for 15 minutes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for inviting Point of Discovery School to the school board meeting tonight. Very nice to see everybody. It's been a while since I saw all of you, so good to see you all. My name is Jen Zock, and I'm the governance board president at Point of Discovery School. We currently, I'm going to forecast a little bit about next year, and then I'll make some introductions, and we'll get going with the really exciting part, which is the student portion, of course. So applications are open right now for Point of Discovery School for next year. You can access the applications either by going to pointofdiscoveryschool.com, and there's a little enroll tab at the top, and that will take you to the application, or through the school district website. And Point of Discovery School is listed under one of the junior high schools, so you can access, and I think it's over on the left-hand column, the application is available there as well. So far, we have 15 applicants. We are accepting incoming 6th and 7th grade students for next year, so current 5th and 6th grade students. And there'll be approximately 105 students next year at Point of Discovery School, and this year we have about 50. So we'll be accepting about 50 more kids. We have several upcoming events so that if people are interested in learning more about Point of Discovery School and the model of learning that we have there, you can come to one of 2 information nights that are held at Point of Discovery School, which is of course at the old Jackson Elementary School site, Thursday, February 11th, or Tuesday, March 1st, and those both begin at 6 p.m. We also have a Slice Day coming up. You'll remember that we talked about Slice Days last year. Slice Days are when you have a sample of what an expedition is from beginning to end. So you slice across the middle of the expedition. So you get to sample it all the way along. And it really gives students and their parents a great opportunity to learn about EL learning. That will be taking place this Saturday, February 13th. It begins at 8 in the morning. And we ask that you pre-register because we need to have an idea of who's coming. And to do that, you call Point of Discovery School at 715-345-5566. And then we also have a celebration of learning coming up. Celebrations of learning are the culmination of the expeditions at Point of Discovery School. So we're nearing the end of the second expedition. That is going to be on Tuesday, February 23rd at 6 p.m. And board members, you received postcards tonight inviting you to that. And so we hope to see you. I know many of you were able to come to our first celebration of learning, and it really is a celebration. It's a great event. Okay, so at this time I'd like to introduce Dan Lathrop, the lead teacher at Point of Discovery School, and he and some students whom he will introduce have much more fun things to talk about than all that businessy stuff that I just got through.
Hello, everybody. First of all, thank you for allowing us this opportunity to speak tonight, and thank you for your continuing support of Point of Discovery School. We sincerely appreciate it. This really is perfect timing for us. We just today had our mid-year review. A mid-year review at an EL school is where you really take stock of where you're at in terms of what you're doing very well and where you can continue to grow. It was a very reflective day at school today and a very celebratory day. Jen was there with us. It was a really wonderful day, and so we'd like to share some of those pieces with you tonight just to let you know a bit about what's happening at school. So we are very obviously in a process of continuous improvement being a first-year school. We evaluate our progress towards our work plan goals, and those work plan goals are driven by 3 dimensions of student achievement. First, the mastery of important knowledge and skills, character development in our students, and also the production of high-quality work. The mid-year review process is based off of information from all of our stakeholders, parent surveys, staff surveys, and student interviews also. And so the framework for our presentation to you tonight is based off of those 3 dimensions of student achievement. So before we do that, I just wanted to share with you, because I'm just kind of beaming with pride over the overwhelmingly positive responses we got from our parents. Our parents spoke very highly of us, which we are very honored about. So just a few of the comments that parents made. The student-directed learning is awesome. I love that my daughter is more responsible for her learning. My child loves attending pods and has been allowed to become a leader on his own in a natural way rather than being forced into it. This has been the case in his other school, and it had the opposite effect. He talks about school all the time and constantly wants to show what he's learning. Most importantly, he feels like his teachers value him, and he has met and become friends with other students who value him for his unique set of characteristics. Active hands-on learning. Feel all teachers and staff know students well. Students are very engaged and excited. First, learning is tied to real-life applications. It's more practical, and there can be a purpose for learning. Second, crew helps kids work together and come together in the morning. Third, the school culture seems to lead to almost no bullying or none at all. Fourth, our daughter has said that kids seem to care about each other more than in her previous school. And last, academic skills are important, but from our point of view, our daughter's confidence and happiness with being herself are at least as important, and we believe that POD sees to that. When we saw comments like that, we were obviously thrilled. I mean, we're very proud of all that we've done so far this year. So for the remainder of the presentation, I'm going to turn it over to three of our fine students. We have Eric Betcher, Mark Rice, and Isabella Madden. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
My name is Eric Betcher. Obviously, I go to PODS. And I will be talking about mastery of knowledge and skills, as it says up there. So, students will demonstrate proficiency of deeper understanding, which means they will really show that they understand these, like, what they have to do, such as multiplication or any skill. They will be able to apply their learning, which means they will be able to do it in other things other than just like a test or something like that. They will be able to use it in real life skills. They will be able to think critically, which would be to analyze and evaluate complex ideas and consider multiple perspectives, which would mean to really think about it, not just look at it quickly and know. Also, they would communicate clearly, which would be write, speak, and present ideas effectively in a variety of media, which would be able to prove that you're learning the skills you need to know. So, how does this look at PODS? It demands learning expeditions that incorporate skills from all subjects like Ideate, where we learned about design process and are using technology to solve problems and raise awareness about important issues. In literacy, we've been working on informative essays that explain our product and the process we use to develop it. We've also been blogging, reflecting on our success and struggles. In science and social studies, we learned about the human brain and technology's effect on it. We also learned about the design process that led to the innovation throughout history, example, the printing press, which we learned about. In math, we were learning how to design thinkers by participating in a series of design challenges where we had to use the design process to develop solutions to problems. And then this is just a question that was in the survey. And my child is engaged in his or her schoolwork and expedition topics. And as you can see, just about everybody agreed or strongly agreed. Nobody disagreed, just didn't really know. So that sums up about mastery of knowledge and skills.
Hi, my name is Mark Rice. I'm also a student at Point of Discovery School. I'm going to be talking about character development, and students will be working to become efficient learners. They will work to become ethical people, contribute to a better world by putting their learning to use and improve in communities. Okay, so character development, how does it look at PODS? We have daily crew sessions with an emphasis on the 6 habits of success. Students who choose not to live by our habits, expectations, appear before a student jury where they work with their peers to restore damaged relationships and find solutions to problems. There is also service embedded in expeditions. For example, the Habits of Success expedition honored and recognized many community members who exemplify the habits. Then there's a chart here about, the question was, my child feels like a valued member of the school. He/she is a part of a crew, not just a passenger. 73% of people strongly agreed. 21.6% agreed, and there was a small sliver of neutral and disagree, which we are working to improve on.
So next I'm going to talk about high quality work. To accomplish high quality work, we are expected to create complex work, demonstrate craftsmanship, so like artwork and organization, and create authentic work. How does high quality work look like at PODS? For the IDA expedition, we're using technology to solve problems or raise awareness about important issues. Eric is doing a media campaign about trains blocking roads, because I think everyone has that problem. And Mark is doing a switch charging cord, and I'm doing a media campaign about equality and bullying. The ID8 Celebration of Learning will be at PODS on Tuesday, February 23rd at 6 p.m. Please join us. And then this is another chart of one of the questions that was on the surveys. Teachers at PODS believe all students can learn and achieve at high levels. So 100% of them either strongly agreed or agreed, so that's really good. And then we just wanted to say thank you for your continued support and dedication to the students of Point of Discovery School.
Okay, thank you so much, school board. Thanks for your support and for your initial leap of faith that this would be a valuable part of our school district, because as you can see, it is. So thank you.
Thank you very much for everybody for coming. All right, we are moving into item 6, which is the public comment section of the school board meeting. No one signed up on the sheet outside. Is there anyone here this evening who came after we pulled the sheet or would like to speak to the board? No one has indicated that, so we will move on to item 7, presentations. A is the student representative report. Millie?
All right, so congratulations to the cast of Mary Poppins for another impressive musical. Mary Poppins even got to fly on stage for this performance. Congratulations again to Jessica Meadow and Abby Glom for winning the Wisconsin State Debate Tournament. We have Red and Black Week coming up at SPASH next week, which includes student dress-up days, there's an assembly on Friday, and then it's followed by the winter formal dance on Saturday, February 20th. And the ACT and Work Keys tests are coming Tuesday and Wednesday, March 1st and 2nd, and that's for every junior to take. Congratulations to Mary Siebert and Aaron Tachita for being named Wisconsin Student Senate Scholars. And then for winter sports, boys swimming won the conference title. Wrestling won the Wisconsin Valley Conference tournament last Saturday. Boys and girls basketball both won big in a doubleheader last Friday night. Boys hockey continues to improve and earned number 3 seed for the regional tournament. Girls hockey is skating tonight in Tomahawk, and girls gymnastics beat Ashland at their last home competition last Thursday night. And that's all.
Boy, it sounds like in the doldrums of January. SPASH is pretty busy. So thanks for keeping us up to date.
Yep.
All right, moving on to item 7B, which is the Wisconsin Association of School Boards Legislative Update. Angel?
I actually have several people who know exactly what's going on. Judy has spoken to me, Leah has spoken to me, and I saw Jerry here as well, if she doesn't mind sharing, because we got a late email in the day. So I'm going to turn things over to the three of you. Jerry, you want to just let us know what the email you just sent us?
It was just a quick update to everyone that the legislature...
She should come on up to the mic. Come on.
Microphone.
That way everybody can hear you.
Can't avoid not being seen.
Viewing audience can see that.
Good evening. Jerry McGinley. I'm on the school board committee, the policy and legislative committee, and it seems that one of the things I seem to really enjoy doing is keep track of what's going on in Madison and inform the committee and Angel and anyone. So I did send out an email late today. The Assembly Committee on Education is going to have an executive session. It appears 1 o'clock Wednesday afternoon down at the Capitol. It is not a public hearing. The bills that they are going to be voting on have already had their public hearings. However, there are 3 bills that they're going to be voting on that are incredibly important to school districts in Wisconsin. The first one has to do, and I might let Dr. Bush elaborate on some of these, but in a nutshell, the 3 bills. One is the referendum restriction bill. Another one is the changing room bill.
And the third one is actually an addendum that they have not yet released publicly, but it will be to another bill, which was a trailer bill, designed to clean up a special education legislation that went through in the budget last year. But this is an amendment that they're tacking on to a bill that really isn't relevant to the bill. It's how public school districts will continue to fund vouchers to private schools in their districts. And the only thing we know for sure at this point is that this amendment will continue to take additional funds out of our public schools. So this should be of great concern to everybody who has children in the public schools or values what public schools do for our communities. And I think as far as the details go, I'll leave that perhaps to Dr. Bush to elaborate on. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And it's always interesting when things get thrown in at the last second. Actually, there was no hearing on the amendment that they're proposing. It came to our attention late last week, and superintendents and school board members and citizens from all over the state made their voices known in Madison. But basically, the voucher program in this state is really a very complicated one, but it's simple on certain levels. Public school money is being spent to educate students that go from the public schools to the private school system. In Stevens Point, that, of course, is the Catholic school system. Last year, $361,000 was levied by the school system to the citizens of the Stevens Point area for students attending that private school system. Then we got state aids back from the state to cover that. However, they're changing the way that's all being done. And what this would do would limit our revenue limit ability, which means that we can levy less for purposes of generating money for our own students. In fact, if this goes through, next year it's estimated there would be $482,295 less in revenue for the school district. So I have a phone.
Trish wants you to repeat the amount.
$482,295, and actually in the green folder in front of you, we put the memo that came out from the Legislative Fiscal Bureau. It's I think it's on the very last packet. There's 3 different things there, and it's the very last in your green folder, and it has the amount for the Stevens Point area. The first year, $482,000. The second year, $120,000. Same way the third year. So really what we need citizens to do is call these people. If you want to focus in on this, this is like a YouTube video where I'm showing things. But these are the chair and the vice chair of the Assembly Education Committee. And if you wanted to note those numbers down, just let them know that you're opposed to Amendment 2 on Bill 751. That would be great. You don't even have to say the reasons behind it. Just say it's going to take money away from our school district, and that would be appreciated, because we've been talking all since I've been here for the last 6 months. Every board meeting we talk about funding issues, and so this is something that we feel the local citizens really need to get involved in now. The voucher program takes money away from your public school system. So, Judy, do you have anything else you wanted to add, or?
Not on that one.
Okay.
I actually went to a couple sessions on various laws, which was very interesting. So the changing room bill, transgender legalities are a hot topic right now, not only for school boards, but for communities. The Fair Labor Standards Act proposed changes to exemption overtime rules may have an impact for schools, not with teachers, but potentially with other employees. There's a lot of things going on that will impact our school in a lot of ways. So if you're interested, contact any of us. We have lots of information.
So the amendment that Lee spoke about, statewide, the estimate is that it will cost public schools $22.7 million. And this is an amendment that Mr. Voss was the sole sponsor for this, and kind of slipped it in without any ability for any type of hearing or any type of comment on the part of the public. And it is a very, very frustrating situation when you have our state government really, you know, in the dead of the night, sliding things in that have the potential for an incredible fiscal impact on our district, because we can't replace the $400,000+ that they're going to take away, because the state has other laws, and it's very complicated, but the state has other laws that do not allow us to raise additional dollars to make up for those dollars that are leaving us. The other point that I want to make is, at least up to now, mid-70% of the students that are receiving vouchers to go to private schools statewide are students who were already in those private schools. They are not students that transferred from the public schools to the Catholic schools or the other private schools. But even if they aren't in the public schools and are eligible for a voucher, we, as a public school district, lose dollars. As Jerry pointed out, it's very irrational. There's frankly not a lot of logic behind it. And when you couple that with the referendum bill and certain other bills that continue to come down the pike, it's really an assault on funding for public schools in our state. I mean, it is a direct assault. Today, Wisconsin Public Radio, if anybody was listening, there are 13 districts in our state who are going to referendum at this upcoming primary. There are 53 school districts who are going to referendum in the April general election. We have districts in our area that have not only passed one recurring operating referendum, but they are on their second recurring operating referendum. We as a district have not yet taken that step. We have done everything that we can. Boards before us and boards after us will continue to do everything they can to be fiscally responsible with the dollars that you provide to us. But the reality in this state is we are becoming a have and a have-not state. The districts that are passing referendums have more dollars available to support public education, and those districts who have not passed referendum are seeing the existing pie of funding being carved away by the legislature month by month. So it's essential that members of the public, if you're concerned about what's happening, speak to our representatives. We're very fortunate. The representatives in our area are very supportive of public schools and funding, but we need to reach out to the individuals that Lee has pointed. We also need to be very aware of who we're voting for our state legislature. If we care about public schools, we've got to try to turn this boat around. Angel?
I just want to say, the phone call is very simple, and it's a minute. I mean, you don't need to be able to debate this issue to make this phone call and tell them you're opposed. So if it's something that you're uncomfortable with because you're afraid you don't know enough about it, it's a simple call where you just say, I'm opposed to this bill that's going through. That's it. So please take the time to do it. It's very simple and very quick and very important.
And if you have any questions, feel free to give Dr. Bush a call. He will be more than happy to provide you with the specific information, walk you through what it is that would be helpful for us in our schools.
Just a brief comment on the referendum bill. What that is that one of the only ways that school districts in Wisconsin can go outside of the revenue caps, which is a cap on the amount of money that can be generated locally from the citizens, is through a referendum. But it has been the practice that referendum can take place at any time. anytime during the year when a local school board feels that it's the right time to do it. This would restrict that to general elections only, and also if the referendum failed, which many of them do, because there's something that needs a little tweaking, and they go back to a citizen committee, find out what needs to be bettered, and then they come back. But now this would also restrict that for 2 years, so you have to wait 2 years. And in the meantime, something can happen that's pretty drastic. A boiler goes out, you need extra money. You can't do that for 2 years. So that's what the referendum bill really does. So, but I'd be happy to answer any questions at some other time.
Any other board members? All right, thank you. And thank you, Jerry, for keeping up with everything and keeping us on notice pretty much daily as to what's happening down there. All right, item 7C is the superintendent's report.
And this is one of the things that I wanted to talk about, but we moved it up, so that's great. But the only other thing I really have to say is that, last week we had the weather event, and I want to thank, again, Brad Caribou and the transportation people for being prepared for that. I talked to Brad at about 4:30 in the morning to see how the roads were going to be the following morning on Wednesday, and we learned that they'd be okay. So, but it was just something that, we monitored all the different websites and the local stations, and we knew it was coming, and so we wanted to give people a heads up, and it worked out. The next call may not be so good, so we're one for the good side and 0. So, but thanks to everybody that, Brad, for all your preparations. Appreciate that. Deadline for the submission for the Veterans of Foreign War Teacher of the Year Award is February 15th, so that award recognizes exceptional teachers. So if you have somebody that you want to nominate, call your principal, and we can get that going. So other than that, that's it.
Thank you. Yes, Sam.
Can I just say one thing here about the weather and the cancellation of schools? I had a number of people call me and come up to me and tell me they thought it was great that this district was proactive and the superintendent made a call the day before. It gave them plenty of time to make arrangements, and it's something that usually doesn't happen around here. They were very happy with that. So thank you for that, Dr. Bush.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Sam. I can tell you that the superintendent emailed me at about 9:30 in the morning and said, it's not snowing yet, and the guy from Florida is going to get blamed if it doesn't start snowing pretty soon. So,
We're a little nervous there.
Yeah, but everything, it worked out. I mean, not that it worked out perfect, but it was the right call. Anyway, so thank you for being proactive
Sure,
about that.
you're welcome.
Thanks, Sam. Moving on to item 8, which is the consent agenda. A, minutes from the January 25th, 2016 special board meeting, and B, approval of the schedule of monthly bills.
Can we vote on those separately, please?
Sure. So item 8A is the minutes from the January 25th, 2016 special board meeting. Could I have a motion to approve those minutes? Chris Scott, and a second?
Second.
And that's Trish. Any discussion or changes? All those, excuse me, call the roll, please. Sue.
Ms. Rano?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Sherrick?
Yes.
Ms. Totten?
Abstain.
Ms. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Evil?
Yes.
Ms. Furler?
Yes.
Ms. Baxton?
Abstain.
Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Passes 7 yes, 0 no, 2 abstain.
Okay. Item 8B is the approval of the schedule of monthly bills. Could I have a motion for approval?
So move.
That's Trish Baker's. And a second, Chris Scott. Any comments or questions with respect to bills? Comments? The only thing I want to note, as a comment with respect to bills, is I wanted to, Leah's provided board members with to date this year, attorney's fees that we have expended as a school district, and I want to thank all the board members. I want to thank staff. I want to thank the superintendent for all of us really pulling together and trying to really focus on limiting the dollars that we were using for attorney's fees at this point. there has been a significant decrease. 4 years ago, we were at about 170, do you have it right in front of you, Lee? Because I want to make sure I have it accurate. 2012, 2013, it was $128,603.90. 2013-14, it was $190,590. 2014-15 was $193,736. This year, 2015-2016, year-to-date, is $35,109. And the board made a commitment, that was one of our goals, to try to really commit to that, and we've done a great job about that, as has the superintendent and all of our staff, so I just wanted to point that out. Thank you. Could you call the roll on the monthly bills, please?
Ms. Sherrick?
Yes.
Ms. Totten?
What are we calling?
Monthly bills.
Monthly bills. Okay. Yes.
Yes. Ms. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Ebel?
Yes.
Ms. Furler?
Yes.
Ms. Faxon?
Yes.
Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Ms. Rano?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Thank you. Moving on to item 9A, Business Services. 1 is Business Services Committee Chair Report, and Jeff sat in on that meeting as the chair, so I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, I did, thank you. The Business Services Committee met last week, February 1st at 6:30, and because Trish couldn't make it, asked me to fill in for her. There were a number of items on the agenda. The ones that were action items were all voted on and approved to be sent up to the board for consideration for tonight. They are on the agenda, so I won't go into detail on those. There were a few other items on there that were for information. Brad gave us an update on the implementation of the Versatrans software, and I guess we're doing very well, and we're to plan, and we're on schedule, so that was very good news. And then also, Tom Owens gave a recap on Wisconsin taxes, and if anyone is interested in taking a look at that rather than having me explain it to you, you can view that information on the committee agenda packet that's available on the school district website. That's it.
Thank you. Moving on to item 9A2, which is approval of the 2016-2017 student fees. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, Baker, Scott. Any discussion or questions on the student fees? Could you call the roll, Sue? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's not basically about the student fees, it's, well, it is. It's about the co-curricular. When we started these and the school board voted on to charge people to play sports, which if you go back in history, I never voted on because my kids, I would have been broke as a parent, even with the maximum that you can pay out. I had asked in the past about getting a dollar amount of how much these sports bring in and what gives out. Where does this money go? There's a lot of parents that have brought this to my attention that sometimes it's a hardship on them, which I tell them to go to the principal at the schools, and they can get help with it, and that still stands true, I believe. However, is there a way that we can see if this is, that we're not making money on it? Basically, that's what I want to know, and I think that's what the public wants to know, is make sure that we're not making money on this. Basically, we're only charging the students enough money to have that sport continue. And I've never gotten any dollar amounts, and I think I requested this last year, and it just kind of fell off the side of the table. I don't know who can answer that, or if we...
Can we hand that over to you,
We can,
Lee, and
yeah,
we'll...
give us some time.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Sue, could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Ebel?
Yes.
Ms. Erler?
Yes.
Ms. Paxson? Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Ms. Rano?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Sherrick?
So much for a free education when it costs you $200 to send your kids to school. I'm going to vote no.
Ms. Totten?
Yes.
Passes 9-1.
Thank you. Moving on to 9A3, which is the 2016-2017 Chartwell's Food Service Contract. We have Dr. Owens here to provide a presentation and answer any questions.
Well, this just be an overview and not an actual presentation, but this time period, we ended our previous 5-year contract, and DPI regulations require us to send out another RFP for another 5-year period. They control the process in terms of documentation, et cetera. So I worked with them and used their RFP, which is a requirement, and we modified it for our purposes in the way that we operate. We then sent out, let's see, how many was it? 18, an RFP to 18 different food service management companies that were listed on the DPI website. And we sent also a Class 1 notice to the newspaper for anybody else who would be interested in the same. When we received notification from a number of those vendors that 5 of them, that they may be interested in submitting an RFP. And when the date came and the time came for opening it, we actually received only one, and that was from Chartwells. We did convene our evaluation committee nonetheless to make sure that that RFP conformed to our requirements, and at the end, it did. On a scale of 100 points possible, the company did score 100, and as it indicates in the memo, their fees they have fees for administrative and management processes, and those are explained in the memo of what those two are. Their total annual cost is $81,210, which I might add is 5.6% less than what we are currently paying. And I'll also point out that we do receive discounts and rebates in excess of $203,000. Last year it was $203,932. So because of their connections with discounts, rebates, et cetera, through their purchasing system, which is one of the reasons that we wanted to go this route. We actually save more than we're paying on the contract, et cetera. I then reviewed the findings with the DPI, and on Monday morning, January 25th, at the conclusion of that review, they said we could proceed forward and bring the information to the Business Services Committee, which we did, and they in turn are recommending approval this evening. So I would conclude my presentation.
Right, thank you, Tom. Could I have a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the cost reimbursable food service management contract between the district and Chartwells for the 2016-17 school year as submitted in their RFP, with up to 4 one-year renewals with mutual agreement.
Second. Okay, a second by Trish Baker. Any comments, questions, discussion? This is a great thing for the district. We thank Chartwells for their partnership. We thank everyone that is working in our school district who is making this an incredibly successful program. As was pointed out at the Business Services Committee meeting, this is a very unique system. And Chartwells has indicated that there are some other districts around our state and elsewhere who actually are interested in following up with our district how we're doing it, because Chartwells is providing us with that support, with the buying power, with the behind-the-scenes help, but we are working with our district employees to make the food and to serve the food and to make the menus and to create what we as a district want to do within, of course, federal state guidelines to provide great meals to our kids. And the statistics over the last few years would back up the fact that that the kids are very happy about it, especially at the high school level. We're seeing increasing numbers, really great participation numbers, both breakfast numbers and lunch numbers, and that's what we're all about. If we can keep the kids on campus, we can make sure they're eating healthy, good food, and we can provide it to them for a good price, and also provide the support to families that don't have the ability to pay. You know, it's a win-win for everybody. So I want to thank the staff that put together this contract, as well as Chartwell's, and allowing us to move forward for another 5 years for actually less money than what we're paying now.
And Lori Epstein, our food service
Yes.
manager in the back.
Yep, who's the boss of it all. Thank you, Lori.
And I just would like to say a special thank you to Lori. You're just on it all the time. And I get so many comments from parents about the changes over the last, I don't know, 7 years, 8 years, whatever. But I can just remember back, there were a lot of concerns. And it's just a different lunchroom. It's a different lunchtime. And Lori, I know you're always watching for improvements in that, so thank you.
Can I have the clerk, Sue, call the roll, please?
Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Ms. Rano?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Sherrick?
Yes.
Ms. Totten?
Yes.
Ms. Baker? Yes. Mr. Ebel?
Yes.
Ms. Erler?
Yes.
Ms. Paxton?
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Thank you. Moving on to 9A4, procurement cards, resolution, and bank agreement. And Tom will provide us with
During
another
our
update.
review of the audit with the Business Services Committee, one of the notes from the auditor was the absence of an actual policy regarding the use of credit cards. And in that discussion, the committee was interested in our taking a look at P cards. So at a subsequent meeting to that, I returned to the committee. We reviewed P cards, the program, the potential that was out there. The committee was interested in that and then asked me to bring back actual documentation with the contract and the resolution that would be required for that. And subsequently, we did that at the very last Business Services Committee meeting. We don't use many credit cards in this district, only about 10. This particular program, however, is different than a regular credit card. It looks just like a credit card, but it does allow us through software to actually control the use of that card. We can set the limit on the card. It has the individual's name on it. It has our tax exempt number on it. We can process the accounting of it, et cetera. And as the use, if it does increase, there is a rebate portion of the program where we could get some funds back. And it's used in over 600 school districts in the country. It's Wisconsin Association of School Business Officials uses that throughout the state in many of its schools. I've used it in another school district I work for. It's based on an original Illinois model in terms of the contract and software, et cetera. And it's actually a very good program. We would put this in place. We'd start out very slow, replace the 10 cards that we have, and destroy those, and then start up with this new program. And we put limits on each card, et cetera. Someone asked at the Business Services Committee what happens if we lose a card. It was actually in the contract. It's on page, I even marked it here. It's on page 5, that in the event of a possible loss, theft, or unauthorized use of the card, we call an 800 number, and then we have no further liability for unauthorized use. Obviously, up to that point, we've got an issue, but we're protected to some degree because the limits on the card are quite low in comparison to, say, a personal, private type of card. I guess subject to your questions, that would be all I have on that.
Could I have a motion? Motion. Oh, Sam, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just had one question. Is there a reason that we're using the Bank of Montreal? We couldn't find anybody local?
There is a reason. That's the bank that's associated with all the software. All 600-plus schools all use this same program. And that's how we get the discounts, the rebates, and how it's fashioned into a program, yes.
Do you have
Any other questions? No, I don't have a motion yet.
Okay. I'm going to move to the first motion to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of individual procurement cards.
Do I have a second? I'll second. Any discussion?
Just a comment, I was able to sit in on the Business Services Committee meeting, so, and Tom, I was the one that asked that question. I just have to say, I think the district is being very cautious moving into this slowly. I think there are a lot of things in place here. Safety controls, which I really appreciate. And one of the things, I think it's on page 7. It's page 7, section 6.5. The members shall be liable for any pre-authorized payments charged to a card account, even after card account is canceled. There's just a lot of safety in here, which for me makes me a lot more comfortable as a board member to know that there are only a couple people involved right now. I believe it's Mr. Owens and Mr. Rudolph who will be monitoring this and slowly to see how it works. So I'm very appreciative of that as a board member.
We have developed a complete manual for its use and all the regulations, and in that manual includes a sample. It's in the business services packet if you want to go back and look at it. But it shows how we'd monitor that. There's also a form that each individual who gets a card has to sign, where they acknowledge the responsibilities of the use of that card, and that if there's any misuse, obviously they could lose the right to use the card and be liable for any misuse, but it could also go up to and including dismissal, depending on the gravity of that misuse or repetition, if you would. But so we've got quite a bit of control over it if something goes awry, and each individual takes their own personal responsibility for assuming that card. It's a serious program, yeah.
The other thing that was talked about at the Business Services Committee meeting, the first one as well as this one, we're fortunate we have a representative from the county, Trish, and we have a representative who actually is at the university. And both those organizations are using this system and have been using them for quite some time, and they were both able to speak about the efficiencies that this will provide for our business services. Now, of course, when you're talking just a small number of people, you're not talking about significant efficiencies, but the ability to be able to charge directly, not have to go through a more rigorous purchase order, et cetera, process is going to allow our people to focus on other items versus some of the things that they've been focusing on in their offices.
Actually, if I could add, when you look at our bills, many of our bills are for very small amounts. So at Walmart, lots of teachers go to Walmart to buy small amounts of things. The county has P-cards out to many, many, many employees, and if we get to a point where we are kind of the same, where the P-cards are distributed on a pretty wide basis, we won't be seeing all of these entries and then all of the consequential data processing entries that have to be made by human beings multiple times. We won't be seeing, our packet of bills won't be so big. So there's a lot of efficiencies on a variety of levels to using the P-card, and the people from UWSP, Susan Crotto said the same thing for them as well. So it's a good program. It's a good thing to do.
Anything else? Could you call the roll, so?
Mr. Ebel?
Yes.
Ms. Erler?
Yes.
Ms. Faxon?
Yes?
Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Ms. Rano?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Sherrick?
Yes.
Ms. Totten?
Yes.
Ms. Baker?
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Thank you.
And then there's a second motion
And the second motion, yes.
to approve the Bank of Montreal Corporate MasterCard Program Member Account Agreement.
And I'll second that as well.
Any discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Totten?
Yes.
Ms. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Ebel?
Yes.
Ms. Erler?
Yes.
Ms. Faxon?
Yes?
Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Ms. Rano?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Sherrick?
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Thank you. Right, we are moving on to item 9A5, which is budget, wage, and other budget impact. Tom is here tonight. We had him come, I want to say it was 6 to 8 months ago, to give all of us, as well as the public, an update as to where our finances are. We have now settled contracts for 14-15, and we wanted to provide everyone with an update as to where we are currently and what our projections are for the next period of time. Thank you.
I need to recuse myself.
Thank you.
If you can write that.
Okay, we'll follow along on here. It's also in your packet if you're having trouble seeing it on the screen, especially if you're in the audience in the back there. But what we're talking about is the current budget year. We take the 10 and 27 funds and combine them because they do interact in such a way that it is more appropriate to combine them. And the upper portion of this presentation shows this is the revenue aspect of our budget, our current 15-16 budget. This shows the activities of our budgeted expenditures. These show the expenditures, the salaries and benefits, and some of the back pay scenarios. We expected 1.5 million in back pay. So we went into this budget year anticipating that we would be $1.5 million in deficit in terms of a change in equity. In other words, we intentionally planned in the budget process to spend down of 1.5 million more expenditures than money than we brought in, which would then in turn obviously reduce the fund balance by that amount. That was the plan, and as we're looking at the progress of how things moved along, this is a little easier to see. Kind of let you follow along here now. We're looking, this upper portion here above the gray line, excuse me, this pointer has a cursor that has a mind of its own. Apparently it's following along. I'm not doing that, but this upper portion here above the gray line shows what, I beg your pardon? What took place in that budget towards that expected $1.5 million deficit. We settled the 2013-14 wages. That dollar amount is shown there, 939 over here. This was then in 14-15, we settled that at 0.65 or imposed, whichever the case was. And that retroactive was paid in the current year, $270,000. And because we increased, because we settled that and had to pay that $270 out of back pay, at the time that $270 was not in the current budget, so we have to pay that as well as part of the current budget. We had made a public offering to the teachers at 0.77, and this is just assuming for purposes of tonight's discussion that the board gives 0.77 to other staff. These $2 amounts come into play. That would put us at 1.8 million. This 1.5, these numbers add up to 1.8, but I put that in there just to force this control number here for the discussion. But the 303,000 represents the amount beyond the 1.5 million that we expected to spend. So if this pans out, and that's a big if because you don't know about budget performance. There's a plethora of changes out there in terms of money coming, money going, et cetera. But based on the budgeted plan, we would at this point be about 1.8 million deficit instead of 1.5. So we would exceed that deficit by an additional $300,000 there. Okay, that's just to kind of show you the performance of where we are now. Then the question says, okay, what about next year, 2016-17? That's what's below the gray line, this area in here. This is looking at 2016 and 17. Well, the state said the CPI was 0.12. We cannot offer more than that in a negotiation. So for the sake of discussion here, I use that numbers in the calculations. First, I looked at revenue. What kind of revenue could we expect to get in the upcoming year in 2016-17? Well, you've heard some of the presentations tonight. That's kind of up in the air. We don't know what's going to happen next year. We have a saying I've used for a long time, regardless of whatever political party is in power at the time, we're never safe when the legislature's in session, because we have no idea what they're going to do. And we are at their mercy. So the current legislation, the biennial budget, said that we would get in 16-17, the last year of the biennial budget, about $100 more per pupil as a per pupil aid. That's the $730,000 you see right there. Then these are expenditures that we're pretty sure we're going to be incurring. The board took action to increase summer school wages. We're thinking it's going to be around $100,000. It may come in a little less than that. We then have to budget again the $270 up here from that settlement, because that's never been budgeted in the operational budget yet. So that has to go in. And then the .77, estimating that to be $324,000 for all staff. That's adding these two numbers together. That would have to be budgeted for, so that's subtracting from the 730. If we use the .12 CPI, that's these $2 amounts here. And then we received word this week that the estimated increase in our work comp insurance is $123,000. That's the increase. Total work comp is somewhere around $600,000-700,000. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head. So that's going up. That's $868,000. So that puts us at about $138,000 in deficit anticipated for next year at that point. Now, as I mentioned, things are going to change. These numbers are, you kind of chuckle when I say it, but these numbers are wrong. I mean, these are estimates, so we know there's going to be differences in revenue, there's going to be differences in expenses. We just don't know how it's going to play out exactly. The only thing we do know is that we sit on a razor's edge in terms of our operating budget. We have very little room to move. Years ago, school boards, going back even to 1848 when the state started, up until about 1993, were charged with setting the levy necessary to operate, support the school district. When the state legislature took away that authority by the implementation of the revenue limit, they offered school boards the only local option to exceed the revenue limit, and that it was the revenue. You've heard that referred to, referred to this evening. And that is somewhat restrictive, but it wasn't terribly bad in terms of an option, because at least the local boards had that option and they could exercise it with their publics, and there was a form of local control established in that. Well, tonight you've also heard reference to Assembly Bill 481, which they referred to as a referendum bill. That would further hamstring local control and seriously restrict the process of the referendum, which at a time like this is not exactly welcome. So we really only have two ways of getting out of this mess without seriously impairing the educational programs. And that would be, one, to have some relief from the state in terms of additional funds. The governor at the convention did talk about any of the savings that they get out of redoing the health insurance plans for state workers and saving some money through self-funding and things like that. He said they were going to put that into public education. I have no idea what that amount might be or how much it would mean for this specific district. I don't think anybody does at this point. So our only option in terms of the state is that they provide us with more money. And of late, they have seemed more interested in diverting some of those funds elsewhere. Whether that'll change or not with the 16-17 school year or with the next biennial budget, when they fight that, battle in the floor, we'll have to wait and see. The second option we have is actually a referendum, and that is a recurring referendum, and I think, unfortunately, we're going to have to look very seriously. I think the board's going to have to look very seriously at considering, about $2 million in a recurring referendum. What that means, for those that may not be familiar with it, is we have a revenue limit that is, let's just say, plateaued here for lack of more detail. It's plateaued at one level here. If a recurring referendum is approved, that revenue limit is notched up to wherever it's approved, and then that goes forward like that. That's the type of referendum you need to address a recurring issue, and then we'd have to be good stewards of how that is apportioned out. But when you have 1,000 employees, if $500 a piece to each employee goes out, you're looking at $500,000 right there. So that's a tough row to hoe. And the bottom line is we are very, very tight. There's little room for anything, and monies that we need for things we are going to have to take out of Hyde. So unless we come up with additional revenues on the outside, any additional monies we're going to have to take out of the existing budget. So you're subject to your questions.
Any board members have a comment or question of Tom?
I do. Earlier tonight, we heard Dr. Bush give a number, which I believe was 490?
480-some thousand, yeah, 482, something like that.
And that's fairly certain. I mean, this year we have to... No. No? Okay.
No.
This year we have to pay out $361,000 for vouchers, right?
No.
That's what we left.
What had happened in the voucher program that is this year, they took the 300-some thousand out of our state aid, but they allowed that to remain in our revenue limit.
Okay.
So it actually transferred the expense from the state directly to local taxpayers, because we raised the money one for one out of the revenue limit.
So
it was outside of that. Now, this is an assembly bill. And the amendment to that, which really has nothing to do with that program, the voucher program, and they were trying to amend the revenue limit, which takes voucher kids and amends the revenue limit so that instead of having this one, recognize each participant as a one FTE outside the revenue limit, they would put it inside, and then we would only get a third each year until 3 years has passed, and then we'd have the full amount. So we'd lose a chunk of money to begin with, then we get some back, and then eventually we get the whole amount for that student or students, and then each time there's a new one, it'd be treated just like a new student. Now, that's an assembly bill. It doesn't lessen the importance of it. I wrote an email the very same day to help stop that. But what I'm trying to say is it has to still go through the legislative process to take effect. They'd have to approve the committee, it would have to go to the assembly would have to approve it, the Senate would have to approve it, and the governor would have to sign it and all of that. So we don't know what's for certain. And I don't know what they're going to come back with Wednesday, if they're going to reenact that amendment 2 in full as previously written, or if they're going to modify it in some way, and then what would be the effect of that modification. So we really don't know exactly what's going to happen. But if that were to happen, if that were passed, and if it did hit us with 482,000, then that would be on top of this.
And that was actually my question, is just tell us how that would impact this number if that does pass.
Yeah, but that is, like I say, that is looking at that one issue. We don't know if they're going to offset that with any additional revenues. I mean, there's a lot of things out there we just plain don't know. Yeah.
So the practical reality of being on this razor's edge is, as we all know, and as everybody that works in our district knows, is that we have settled over the past about a year, a little over a year and a half, 5 contracts. We had back contracts to settle. And the largest amount that we settled for was 1.5%. We settled for a 0.5 point. We settled for 1.0. We settled for 1.5. We've got a 0.65, and now we're looking at a 0.77. And the state is now telling us for The next year, the most we can offer is 0.12, that's CPI. So the practical reality is that our employees are not receiving increase anywhere near what the state is telling us is CPI. But the reality is, we don't have any money in our budget. I mean, and that is the reality. And that if we take the pie that we currently have and put more dollars into wages and benefits, I believe 1%, Tom, is 1% $500,000 wages and benefits?
I don't remember. I'd hate to say for sure and then be wrong.
Trying to remember looking up there. I think, well, wage increase for 2013-14 was a 1%, and it was 939, so it's almost $1 million.
It's gone up since then.
So to add an additional 1% for our staff is close to $1 million. We are a labor-intensive business, and we are not a business that can automate. Our teachers are using technology in the classroom, and we are doing an incredible job, thanks to the work that our IT group is doing, our staff is doing, the Sentry dollars that support this district. But we still have to meet class sizes. I mean, our staff isn't going away. We don't want them to go away. We need to be sure that we have an adult for, I mean, we don't want any more than 24 kids in a classroom, to the extent possible at the elementary level. So I mean, this is where the rubber meets the road, and this is going to keep coming back to the board. It's going to keep coming back to staff, and it's going to keep coming back to the public, because we need to work together as a community to determine how we want to move forward supporting public education within our community. Because right now, in this last biennium, the state gave us the first year, a 0% increase, and they're giving us $100 a student for the second year, and that's leaving us in a deficit situation is the reality. So again, as Tom said, the two options moving forward, if we want to look to grow our district in the way that a number of our neighboring districts are doing, we need to make that decision, frankly, as a board and as a community, if we want to put all our eggs in the state's basket, or we want to look to this community to help us support public education, possibly through an operating referendum.
So one of the things that's kind of interesting when you brought up the totals as far as legal fees, so we made a commitment to reduce costs, and if we stay on track, we could be close to $160,000 to the good. Are there other areas within the district that we can pull some money from so it's not quite so tight? I understand we're pulling, from here or there, but if we're not getting money from state just to keep us going and still provide something, are there other areas?
So I guess I'll just throw it, because I mean, I thought about that today when I pulled the legal things. First of all, 1 year doesn't a record make. And frankly, with respect to legal fees, you could have 1 or 2 cases in a year that could take you right back up there. So the bottom line is we need to really be able to take a look at true, actual, ongoing, committed savings. And as I said, to give our staff a 1% increase in a year would be $1 million. That's a lot of savings. And I know part of the reason that we frankly, as a district, have not moved forward with operating referendum is because we as a district have been incredibly frugal. I mean, I think the administration has been incredible, and actually our staff has. We've seen in the past year half a dozen instances where our staff has come to us and asked to have additional staff or additional programming, and they have figured out how to do it with existing dollars. I mean, they have given dollars back in areas to be able to add something that they knew the district wanted, because they know that we don't have the dollars there. So I think we need to commend our staff for how innovative, creative, and efficient they have been about finding savings in our budget to try to support some of the initiatives that our district has been able to do and the supports that we've been able to add to the classrooms.
Can I say, also, there could be savings throughout the budget. This is a nice El Nino winter, so there can be savings in those expenses, and fuel is, price is good, so there can be savings throughout the budget in a lot of areas.
And I realize it's short-term. I'm just looking at our bottom line right here and say, are there ways that we can make it okay with that? And we have to think about the future.
Right.
Judy, I think your question is a perfect one. It's right on. And as these folks have pointed out, there are a lot of things that can happen in any one year to swing it tremendously, and that's true. Your question really is geared at a tactical question. And we go through that every time we go through a budget, and as we get near the line, we say, well, how do we make this fit? Because we don't want to be negative. So if, for example, when we looked at all of this, we were at 138,000, we would scrounge around and try to figure out, is there a way that we could cut certain things and get to that 138 to get it to zero? That's a tactical situation. One of the things, though, I think we need to be considering is the strategic look at this. And that is, we have to get away from the tactical at this point. You folks need to concentrate on the strategic. How do we solve this for the next 5 years? How do we solve this going forward? And that's really the issue, because it's not going to be solved by short tactical stuff.
So if we would be able to go to referendum and do an ongoing referendum at 2 million?
Well, that's a possible amount. I don't know if
That's
that's the accurate amount. You guys need to talk about that. We need to look at that.
Okay.
Any other comments? Thank you, Pam. Moving on to item 9B, Educational Services. 1 is Educational Services Committee Chair Report. Chris Scott.
Thank you. I'll try to make this brief, but I did write up a few things, especially for the community who might not have a packet or isn't looking at this online. Educational Services met on February 4th. 2 of these items are on the agenda tonight, so I'm sure there'll be conversation and questions. 1 is the Century one-to-one laptop lease option, and the 4-year-old program and site agreement for 4K. So Brian Casey presented the status of our current laptop situation. Many of our laptops over the last 5 years have become somewhat outdated. At the end of this school year, most of the warranties will be done. The Technology Steering Committee and the Tech Ed Department and staff came together, creating an RFP for the best device and service program for our district. They chose a lease provided by PDS, and speaking of money, because of the generosity of Century and its technology initiative, they have agreed to fund the next 4 years of this lease program for our 9 to 12 students and staff. Sam, I really appreciate at the committee meeting you asked about some of the laptops that we might have that are still in semi-good shape, and using some of those newer models from the current program, we would have them taken to the elementary, which I think is really great. If we did not have this funding, and we could not, without taking probably over $425,000 to sustain almost 2,200 to 2,600 laptops. And I think anyone who knows what's happened in the last years with these laptops in our schools know what a success it's been. And obviously, we have to be very grateful not only to Century for those dollars, but also to the staff who worked on these programs, Brian, Dr. Bush, and all of the staff who worked with Century, and they really provided a lot of information to show the progress we've made over the years. The next item was the 4-year-old kindergarten program and site agreement. I just have to thank all the people who came to the meeting, the providers who sent in questions, and the staff who then made sure that the questions were answered before the meeting so that the committee could have a conversation about the concerns. So on February 22nd, we'll be signing up students for the 4K program, and the 4K currently partners with our community sites. Our early learning principal, Sherry Stancic, and Dave Lockett, the Director of Elementary Education, and our staff look over every year for different areas of improvement for our programs. After surveying the district staff, parents, and 4K site directors, and looking at the current contract with legal counsel, a new proposal came up, and that proposal will be on our agenda this evening that we're going to talk about. The changes that were addressed are concerns of limited amount of instructional time during the day for the students, not enough collaboration, planning time, and professional development for the 4K teachers, the site directors, and the district staff. Also, a concern for increased pay was brought forward. The change in delivery that's being recommended would be from a 5-day, 2-hour and 40 minutes a day, to a 4-day, 3-hour and 10-minute day, leaving Friday to be used as a flexible professional development day, utilized in a number of different ways. 2 areas of savings, money again, would be transportation, approximately $170,000, and $22,000 in personnel costs. There is a site classroom rubric which has been used to provide a rating system specific to compliance and best practices. It's now being proposed also as an opportunity for sites that score highly on this rubric to add additional compensation. The committee requested some possible language changes in the contract, and the new contract tonight has some of those, and we might talk about those. The board discussion, I'm sure will talk about a lot of these, but I just have to say I really appreciate that we were able to take the time, look at the concerns, listen to the concerns. We didn't have all of our committee members there because we changed the night because of the snow, but I think it was a really good discussion, and I think there were a lot of questions that were answered. So there was one other item, and that was some more information on the Consolidated Task Force, but really that was just giving information to the committee, giving them some links to look at the educational validity of some of the recommendations that were made in that task force recommendation. So we'll be coming back and talking a little more about that.
Great.
And that's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Moving on to 9B2, which is the 4K contract.
Let me just start by saying that I want to appreciate the providers and Sherry and David for working in partnership for this program. In my career, I've started 4K programs at 3 different school systems, and those programs were all included within the schools themselves. There was space in the school, and the 4-year-olds were in the school, and it worked out very well because they get used to the routine of school. The transition to kindergarten is very easy, and I know that wasn't possible in this district because of the space limitations at all of the elementary schools, and maybe sometime in the future that is possible. But so in lieu of that, I know the district still wanted to provide a program for these little fellers and gals, and having providers step up and forming this collaboration and partnership is an awesome thing, because I truly believe in early childhood education. I think that all of the latest research into early learning, and even before 4, and there are programs all over the country for even children younger than that, all indicates that when that little brain is growing, they are just a sponge. So what we can do to provide learning for the 4-year-olds is just a fantastic thing. So having said that, there's always interesting ideas on how these programs should be set up, and when you have a contract with independent contractors, the people that provide, and working with the school district, there's a lot of nuances and things that have to be worked out. So I'm very, very proud of the way that this district, from what I have seen, is working with the providers, and there are some things in this contract that are new and change is always sometimes difficult. But I think there's some good points to this. So I'm going to let Sherry step up to the podium, or the lectern, excuse me, and present this, or whatever else needs to be asked about this. You did receive in your packets, at least in the green folder tonight, there is the latest, because this was even worked on this weekend to finalize it after the committee meeting on Thursday night. And there's some blue line language that was added, so it is in there, and that's highlighted for you. The areas that the committee noted after Sherry's presentation and after several of the providers were at the meeting on Thursday night. So thank you for all the work that you've done, Sherry. It's not an easy thing to coordinate a program where there's a lot of independent contractors working for our kids. So I appreciate all the work that you've done on this.
Thank you, and thank you, Chris. That was a nice summary of our meeting on Thursday as well. So it sounds like with that information, it might be an appropriate time for questions and answers. Unless you want me to re-summarize anything prior to questions and answers.
Lisa?
I know all the board members have gotten contacts, but I've gotten a number of contacts outside of those that everybody's been privy to. And the concern I have with this whole thing is the complaint, or what I'm hearing, is that while we do have partnerships with these entities, we didn't partner with them when we made the revisions. We essentially did the revisions and then gave it to them. I'm very concerned about that. I don't think that's appropriate. Was there a reason that we chose to do it that way? I mean, what was our logic behind that?
Well, at the start of this school year, at some initial director meetings, those are held periodically, generally on a monthly basis. So in September or October, at a director meeting, I had referenced that this would be the time when we would be looking at a new contract for the starting the 16-17 school year, and suggested that it would be appropriate to meet as a group of providers and start talking about some of the things that they may have questions or would like to see in a new contract. And then on November 23rd, Dave Lockett and I did sit down with the providers and spoke with them, and it was really much of a listening session where they were able to provide us with some of that feedback and questions and concerns that they had. Some big thoughts, I guess, would be just related to an increased annual rate, truly with a main purpose of being able to provide their classroom teachers with an increased wage. And so with that, then we started to, after that conversation, we looked at the possibility of looking into transportation. We had anticipated that there might be the possibility of some savings in transportation, and after looking at it more carefully, we found that $170,000 was an estimated cost savings. And that, of course, would be based on going down to 4 days per week. The staff were surveyed. After that initial November 23rd meeting, there was some time spent in creating a survey and some discussion on when to send that survey, because, of course, there was the Thanksgiving holiday. I think there were a few other district surveys that were going out at that time. So in collaboration with Sarah and Brad Caribou, we talked about sending out that survey for our stakeholders in early December. At one point, we had a provider reach out and indicate that she did not meet the due date, and so we opened that survey up again to hear that feedback. We also realized that our teachers didn't get it in the initial rollout, which was just an oversight, so that delayed part of the survey. So when we got those survey results back, it was close to the Christmas holiday season. Shortly after that holiday, it was right after the start of the school year, was the first opportunity we had to really look at that data or the survey results with Brad Caribou, myself, and Sarah O'Donnell. After we looked at that, we saw the information that's reflected in the packet, which was When we looked at parents, it was pretty close, but it was a little bit over 50 that would be willing to consider a 4-day per week model. Our director and 4K teacher and district staff survey was a little bit higher. It was closer to 60%. Based on that recommendation, then the next step was to take that information to cabinet, which would have happened that following week. After cabinet approval, then it was looking at the next board meeting, which we had just missed, and that's where we lost a little bit of time, because that's what led us to last week's Ed Service Committee meeting and to the next closest board meeting, which was today. Again, prior to that, we also met with the providers, and I had also had a 4K on the Institute Day that we had in January. There was some discussion with that with the teachers, but just in an effort to respect the providers, that conversation was put on hold until it could be had with the providers.
And my concern is that they're feeling that they weren't respected. And we need to remember that, they're doing us a service. We are making money off of this program by having them do it. They're still part of the public school system, the rubrics. There's confusion as far as, okay, so if one facility does better, so then what? That child gets more money, whereas now we have so much money per child. So there's a lot of questions out there and a lot of concerns. Is there a reason why we can't just continue with the existing contract for a year until these providers actually feel that they're being heard and it can be incorporated into whatever changes want to be made?
Also reflected in some of those changes is that 5% increase and that 10% increase, which was all really based on the savings that we could potentially gain in transportation. So I think it would be safe to say that we would not be able to have that type of money to work with when we would consider an increased weight per student. The other thing is that yes, there's compensation if you're at a distinguished rate, but a big part of the rubric is meeting with the district in the fall to go over that rubric, which was committee created. All of our providers were invited to attend and be a part of that planning committee. When that came out, we had a very small number of providers that actually came to that meeting. And so that's one way to say we're happy to get you. That's our goal. We want our providers to go and get to that distinguished rate. So there's like a pre-evaluation, if you will, in the fall with the hope of helping the directors move towards a distinguished rate. And I know that has been some of the feedback that has been provided, but I also have heard some positive reviews from some of our providers as well.
Any other board comments?
Just one thing.
Sam, I'll get you next.
Oh.
No, go ahead.
No, just one of the things, I actually, a couple people who I think are involved in early childhood said, and I've heard this just as we hear about our different elementaries. Each of our elementaries, are those students getting the same and equal opportunities? I have heard that some of the, and I don't know the providers, so I'm not saying anyone's doing less or more, but they're not doing everything in the same way. So I really, and that they are looking for, I guess, accountability, and they like the rubric. They said, this just, it gives you something to look at, something, and I know some of these things are being done probably in all of these areas, but I don't have any problem with saying, you know what, everyone's doing a great job. People who are doing above and beyond, why not provide them with more?
Sam?
I'm glad to see some of the language has been changed in this since it was in front of the committee, particularly in a 60-day notice that now goes both ways, but the district still has the right to terminate immediately in case of a health problem or safety problem. And we also know that since these people are licensed, if there was a condition such as this, Children and Family Services would come in there to investigate too. And they have the ability to shut everything down then and there also. I think that was very fair. The two things that I do not like still, and I didn't see it in here, I know we were planning on Fridays for Professional Development Day, but we have a number of the instructors that after these 4K kids are done, they have other kids that they have to take care of the rest of that day. And I understand what they're saying about pulling their teacher out and putting somebody new in there. I think the staff development is very important, but I also think that we can be flexible. And as long as it is done, the number of hours is done each month or each year, however you're doing it, I don't think we should restrict them to one particular time. Maybe they can do it on a Tuesday afternoon better than they can on a Friday. The other thing is still, and I noticed it's changed since I talked to Dr. Bush earlier today, or since I emailed him earlier today, on page 4, section I. It is better, but it's not complete. These people are subcontractors. I don't know any other subcontractor this district goes to and says, nope, you can't hire that one, we don't like them. I think the wording should still be that the district reserves the right to direct the provider to disqualify an employee from providing services in the 4K program. I think that's the fair way to do it. We shouldn't be telling these providers, we don't want this one working for you. We could tell them we don't want them involved in 4K, and maybe they can do something else and work with other kids there at the center. It's not our business to go tell them that these people cannot work there, period. We can say, yes, they should not, we do not want them in the 4K program. So that's one change I would like to see come about. Other than that, I'm more than happy with the changes that were made, and I think it's much fairer. The only other thing that, and I got yelled at for bringing this up before, but I'll do it again. If we're talking about saving, I think the total came up to like $192,000. If there's only 543 kids we're talking about right now, I can't see since 2007 we've been giving them $15 for supplies. I can't see a problem in taking another $5,000 and raising it up to $25 for supplies for these kids, because $15 doesn't do very much, and we're still going to get savings out of it.
I think the $15 is based on it's the district rate. So it's what we as a district budget for all of our students. So
Well,
I guess I'm comfortable with us budgeting for the 4K program the same amount that we're budgeting.
I noticed in the kindergarten rate, it said the district was paying $20. So kindergarten through whatever it was, so 15 is a little low, I don't know.
Maybe that's for fees.
On one of the budget higher thing we were looking at.
So Sam, am I understanding that your concern with respect to the not hiring or terminating is that you want to limit it to directing them to not hire or to terminate the individual from the 4K program?
Right.
So you're comfortable with that, but if the provider wanted to employ that individual in some other capacity than the 4K program, that's what you're uncomfortable with.
I like I say, I know these kids are our responsibility. I don't think these providers are going to go out there and hire somebody that's going to be really bad, but if there's somebody that we don't feel right about, we have the right to say, no, we don't want them in the 4K program. But I don't think we should be telling them, no, you cannot hire somebody, but you have to fire somebody. We could tell them we don't want them involved in the 4K program, but there's other things they could do over there. There's other kids they could work with. And that, I think, is reasonable.
I thought we asked legal to look at that.
The language that you have here is the most recent from legal.
And that is it this sheet?
It's on, yeah, page 4,
Okay, so page 4.
highlighted in blue.
Right, well, highlighted in blue. I don't think I have a highlighted in blue.
It's highlighted in red.
Red,
Oh,
yeah.
mine, oh, I'm sorry, mine's blue. Okay.
Excuse me, I have red. So we've deleted, it looks like we've deleted,
I think in reading it, Sam, that what Sam is proposing is what the intent was, because it does reference at the end of that sentence, it specifically references to disqualify them from hiring or to terminate an employee who is hired to deliver the 4K program services to.
Right.
So what it's saying is that the providers can, we, after discussion, after working through it, if the district still feels very strongly that an individual should not be hired or should be terminated, we would have the ability to do that from the 4K services program, period.
Yeah,
that's what I'm reading.
That's what it, because the end of the sentence specifically calls out the 4K program services 3.
Program service.
So it's speaking specifically to that position, Sam. That's all it's speaking to. We don't have the authority.
Kind of blurry the way it's
Yeah,
written, though.
but we don't have, we would have no authority to direct them to do anything with respect to any other position that they might choose to have that person
As long
employed.
as that's understood, because like I say, it's a little bit blurry in the way it's written there.
Kim?
Does this have to be voted on tonight? I mean, does it have to be decided tonight?
In order for the parents to be notified of that prior to registration, which was also a consideration for us, we wanted to be able to, pending board approval, do a press release tomorrow and start having our website reflect that change for the February 22nd registration period, so that then parents and providers could have from February to the start of the next school year to adjust to that schedule change. And so I think that it would be appropriate, if you're looking at this change being in effect next year, that would be inappropriate.
And I understand that with the sign up being, later on this month. I just would wish we would get more feedback, because I mean, if you would have seen our emails, school board emails, they were blowing up, about this issue. And I just wish we could push it off another month and have it looked at again in everybody's concerns.
We did have a number of people there, and they did speak.
What was that, Sam?
I want to note for the record, I received no calls, and I received just a couple emails. So first, I'm not getting a lot, and they weren't all negative. I mean, the couple emails I received, there were some that raised some concerns, and there were some that were supportive of it. Dr. Bush was at a CISA meeting this past week and did a survey of the other districts within our area that are providing 4K programs, just to kind of find out, how does it fall between 4-day and 5-day? And what was the number, Lee?
There were 17 superintendents there, 14 have 4-day a week 4K, and 3 have 5-day a week. So the general practice is that it's 4-day a week.
I don't have a 4K. I have no input on it, to be honest with you, with it. I just, with the providers working together as a partnership, and I understand sometimes how the timeline can fall apart with holidays and different things that are going on. That's the only, my concern is, because I would hate for Century as a partnership to us, kind of tell us what we can and cannot do and vice versa. That would be the only thing that I have a concern about, because we're setting a precedence about how we deal with partnerships. If we're not working together, then it's really not a partnership. So that would be my only concern, so.
What was the survey results for the providers again?
The providers' information was added to that of the 4K teachers and also the district staff. So it was, the majority of that population would have been providers and 4K teachers. We have a smaller population of district staff in that group.
Okay.
Okay, I believe I need a motion.
Meg, can I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm looking at my iPad motion. Is that the current?
It's a really odd motion.
And
I didn't-
it's,
Yeah, you might want to, I mean, it would be very simple just to say to recommend the approval of the 4K contract.
Yeah, it really,
Right. Well, that's because the committee brought forward the request for 3 specific things. Now I would think
Right.
the motion should recommend approval with the, changes, with the contract presented tonight,
So,
including the changes
I'm
that were
going to put
made.
this out there, and if it's not, I want to make sure it's accurate. To move to approve the 4-year-old kindergarten program and site agreement type 3 for the 2016-19 contract as presented.
Do I have a second? I have a second by Ms. Faxon. Discussion. Judy.
I just have a question because I wasn't able to make the meeting, which I was really kind of bummed about. How many providers are we talking about?
We have 12 providers and 18 locations. So for example, the YMCA has 3 locations.
Okay, thanks.
I have a list of them if you want them.
Okay. Any further discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Yes.
Ms. Erler,
Yes.
Ms. Faxon? Yes. Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Ms. Rano?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Sherrick?
Yes.
Ms. Todd?
No.
Ms. Baker?
yes.
It passes 8-1.
Thank you. Moving on to item 9B3, the Century one-to-one laptop lease option. And I will note for the record that I'm going to abstain from this vote. My husband is a member of the Century Foundation Board that makes the decision. So there's no financial benefit to us whatsoever, but from an appearance perspective, I am going to abstain.
Okay. I'm just going to give a little summary above and beyond what Chris did from the committee meeting. First and foremost, I guess we have one of the premier laptop one-to-one programs in the state, and that's all due to the generosity of the Century Insurance Foundation. It's been very successful. We've reached a point now in that program where the original laptops that were purchased have aged to such a degree that they need to be replaced. They're no longer fit to be sent out home with students next year. We knew that this problem was coming, and we were able to anticipate that. The first step was to look at devices, whether we wanted to continue with laptops or look at other devices. We started with the Technology Steering Committee. We talked to teachers and other practitioners about how they were using those devices, and hands down, the answer was that we needed to stay with the laptop. So knowing that we had to stay with the laptop, we went to an RFP process to determine what the best device would be. We created a set of criteria, specifications for those devices. Also, a huge component of that has to do with the support that's provided, how we warranty those devices, how they're repaired, re-imaging and such forth over the summer. That RFP process also contained an option for lease financing. We received over 8 different bids through the RFP process. We thoroughly reviewed those bids in the technology department. We came up with several recommendations, 2 finalists. We had a second interview, I would call it, with those 2 providers about the service and warranty and the exact specifications on the model. And we determined that the best fit for the district was the option provided by PDS. We took that recommendation to the steering committee, who unanimously approved of it, and it's supported by our department. Now, what's different about this agreement is that we're asking the district to enter into a lease agreement. Rather than use funds to purchase the laptops outright, we're going to be making payments for annual payments, and in essence, renting those devices. The benefit to the district is that we are not going to be retaining equipment after 4 years that probably we shouldn't hang on to anymore. It also gives us a better idea of the annualized costs for running the program, as opposed to paying $1.5 million one year and then very little the next year. We know that really we'll be able to get a very good idea of what it costs to run the one-to-one program. What that means, though, is that we are making a commitment to pay those monies for the next 4 years, beginning in next year. We're very fortunate that Century Insurance has committed again to funding this program for the next 4 years, next year and then another 3 years to be able to afford this. So in essence, the district is still not having to use our own dollars to pay for this. What we do need, though, is approval of the lease agreement, and once that's approved by the board, we can enter into, get those executable documents prepared and have the appropriate signatures on the documents. So at this point, I'd be more than willing to answer any questions that you might have.
Board members have any questions? Do I have a motion?
I'm sorry.
Why don't we, well, which way do you want to go? You want to have a
I just
question
have
for
one
Brian
question.
or?
No, I have a question for Brian.
Okay, go ahead.
And I guess I'm just wondering, is it ultimately less expensive for us to lease these as opposed to actually purchasing the laptops?
Yeah, I think one of the advantages is that we're committing to replacing these devices in 4 years. We've run into trouble hanging on to laptops longer than we should have. Really, and the total cost of ownership really just grows on those because they become, in essence, a work order. They don't work. Staff expect them to work the same as a new laptop, and they don't. We end up putting man hours into trying to fix them. We have to do short-term solutions, adding memory and other things on, and it's just not worth it. So really, I think it's better to commit to the idea that we shouldn't be holding on to a laptop for more than 4 years.
And I guess my follow-up would be then, if Century, how long is Century committed to providing this?
We have 1 year left on the current grant, and they have also verbally agreed to fund another 4 years, or another 3 years after that.
So this lease is for 3 years?
4 years.
Okay, so it takes us through.
Yes.
So here's my devil's advocate question for a moment. At the end of this, we have to give all of these laptops back because we're only leasing them. If Century says, we're done giving you all of this funding for electronics, we won't have any equipment.
We couldn't give those laptops out again in a one-to-one program because the warranties will no longer be good. We couldn't send them home. We need that warranty for accidental damage and also the other workings of that laptop. So the program won't work unless we actually commit to this type of funding every year.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve the lease agreement. Oh, it's with Hewlett-Packard, that's right. HP for the 2,600 laptops, including warranty and service agreements as described, with 4 annual payments of $426,353, funding provided by the Century Technology Initiative.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Angel Faxon.
I mean, I wanted to just kind of throw this at Trish because of the question you asked. So should Century have said no to this? The question to the funding.
Are you asking me, should they have said no?
No, I'm asking you, to the business committee chair.
Uh-huh.
I asked that question, and the answer was, with the technology initiatives we have in our schools, we would most likely have to find a way to build that $426,000 amount into our budget.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about, and that's what I'm struggling with, is that if we were to purchase these laptops, at least at the end of 4 years, if Century would suddenly shift gears and no longer be our biggest donors, you know, and we are so grateful for the things that they have done, but if they suddenly change their mind, we have to give these back. We literally have nothing at that point.
There's an option to purchase these at the end.
You can purchase.
We wouldn't be able to send them home with students because we wouldn't have the warranty.
Be obsolete
So
anyways.
then they would be obsolete functionally. We really would not be doing any educational service to our students, handing them a device that would be broken and we couldn't replace it. And also, they wouldn't really function. After 4 years, we should not be hanging on to a laptop.
And as quickly. So I just wanted to know that I did ask that question, and I was extremely excited and grateful to hear that.
Yeah,
Because I tell you, when we went to the convention, people knew about that.
Oh, right.
And they're just envious because there aren't very many places right now in Wisconsin that have people, companies, doing that kind of thing. We should be very grateful. I am.
Okay, Sue, could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Sherrick?
Yes.
Ms. Totten?
Yes.
Ms. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Ebel?
Yes.
Ms. Faxon? Yes. Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Ms. Rano?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Passes 8 yes, 0 no, 1 abstain.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian. Moving on to item 9E, Human Resources Committee Chair Report, Jeff Ebel.
Thank you.
About 9C.
Yeah.
we missed-
Oh, I'm sorry, 9C.
Student services.
I jumped
Yeah,
right through
I
it.
thought there was
Student services, C1, a memorandum of,
Should be MOU.
yeah, MOU of understanding, Stevens Point Area School District and Village of Plover Police Department.
And Greg is unable to be with us tonight, but you did receive a memorandum explaining this MOU. Basically, the Plover Police has had a police officer who has received extensive training as a school resource officer, Officer Seth, and has been acting as such a kind of an unofficial capacity. So this memorandum just basically puts it to more of an official capacity.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I will move to approve the attached, the MOU for Plover SRO as outlined.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Faxon. Any discussion or questions? Chris?
So do we have one of these officers in all of our elementaries?
No. We have Stevens Point police that do come to the elementaries, and sheriff's deputies that do come also to the schools, but nothing as an official school resource officer. That's my understanding.
At the elementaries.
Yes.
At the elementary. And out of curiosity.
It doesn't mean that we couldn't.
No.
Or that we won't. It's just that Clover and the district discussed this because they have an officer
That they
that
entirely
has
pay for
been
as well.
focusing on this, and they
Oh,
wanted
okay.
to kind of formalize that. I mean, there's no cost to the district.
Right. I wasn't.
It's just
yeah.
that because of the way it's been working between those schools and the police department, they thought it would be good to, crystallize that.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Ms. Rano?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Sherrick?
Yes.
Ms. Totten?
Yes.
Ms. Baker? Yes. Mr. Ebel?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Faxon? Passes 9-0.
Okay, now back to 9E1, Human Resources Committee Chair Report, Jeff Ebel.
Thanks. Human Resources Committee met last week, February 1st at 7:45. There were two items on the agenda, the Technology Department restructuring and recommendations for a base wage increase for non-represented employees. Both of those items are on the agenda tonight, but I did want to mention that the restructuring of the IT department, there were some minor changes to the way it's being presented to the board tonight. We split the recommendation into two separate motions so that we can vote on those independently. And then also there was some time elements that were changed, but content-wise, they are what we had discussed at the HR committee meeting. There are also two items on the agenda that typically don't go to the HR committee. And one is the contracts, renewal of the contracts, because there were no changes recommended. And then also the recommendations for employment. And then there was one other thing that we talked about briefly, and that was to get an updated report on the teachers on call. If you remember, last year, I think, actually it was 2014, they came in and gave a presentation. And again, we think there might be an opportunity if we can figure out how to address that issue. We do spend an awful lot of money on teachers on call, plus there are times during the year where they can't get enough substitutes to fulfill our needs. So we ask them to come back, probably first at the committee and then hopefully to the board, to the full board, to give an updated report on substitute teachers.
Great, thank you. Moving on to item 9E2, recommendations.
I have a question on this.
Oh, on the report, Sam?
No, on the, okay, no, that's okay, go ahead.
Okay. Item 9E2, which is recommendations for employment.
That would be the one I have.
Okay.
When our governor came out with those new regulations about anybody could teach in the schools, basically, we as a board said that you have to have a teaching degree to teach in this district. That was our wishes. And I noticed that under number 3, she has a bachelor's degree in psychology and is enrolled in an education degree program. Is that okay? Is that with the board, or is that, because we did say that we did want them to have a teaching degree at that time. So I don't know, it doesn't bother me either way right now. At least they're enrolled in a educational program. It's, we don't have somebody who.
Well, Florence, do you want to address Sam's question?
Do you want to do the motion first so you can have
Yeah,
discussion?
why don't we let's get a motion on the floor, if we could.
Move to approve the personnel recommendations as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Angel? Okay.
Okay. Part of the discussion, if I recall correctly, Sam, and I don't remember exactly what was discussed, but with the new regulations that were passed, we can hire teachers with other degrees or with experiential learning. However, for them to become licensed, they do have to enroll in the teaching program.
Right.
So that is what she is currently enrolled in to receive her license. She has been licensed through the DPI. And don't quote me on this because I'm not really exact with the regulations, but it's like an emergency license that they get once they enroll in that program.
Okay, it's like, I've got no problem with it. It's just, I remember the board saying, we want them to have a teaching degree. And if this is okay, that's fine. But then why are we saying, in the superintendent search, we want them to have superintendent experience? It's just.
Well, it's, why have a policy if you're not going to follow it, really? I mean, shouldn't have it, but I agree with Sam. I mean, that is what the board had decided, that even though the governor had decided that having a teaching license wasn't important, that we as a board thought it was. So if we could amend that motion and vote on that separately.
I would just offer, like I said, and I do not remember the exact conversation, but I do remember the teaching license. If I recall correctly, and I may not, it was the teaching license that we wanted to require. I'm not positive about that teaching degree. I just don't remember. Forgive me, but.
Well, we all know if you have a bachelor's degree, you can get the certification to be a sub, which essentially is this license to teach. But I would I'd like to make a motion to amend the motion to pull that one out as separate.
Can I ask which one you're pulling out?
Number A3, the one that does not have the teaching license.
And you just want to vote on it separately?
Correct.
Okay.
Do I have a second to that amendment?
I'll second.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second on the floor to vote on 3A separate from the other personnel recommendations. Any discussion?
It's just, again, it was what the board had decided, that that was important, that our teachers are certified teachers, and
Sue, could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Baker?
Sure. So are we voting on?
Just voting on whether we're going to vote on it separate.
Okay.
That's all we're voting on right now.
Okay, so Mr. Ebel?
Sure, yeah.
Ms. Erler?
Yes.
Ms. Faxon?
No.
Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Ms. Rano?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Well, I really didn't hear the conversation, but I did hear something about it being not an emergency.
The licensing, the emergency license.
This is just to vote on it separately, Chris. This is not to vote on the merits.
Before I vote, I understand that. No.
Ms. Sherrick?
Yes.
Ms. Totten?
Yes.
Passes 7-2.
Okay, so we will vote then on the original motion, which now includes 1A, 1B, 2A, and B1B. Any discussion or questions with respect to those? Sue, could you call the roll?
Ms. Rano?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Sherrick?
Yes.
Ms. Totten?
Yes.
Ms. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Ebel?
Yes.
Ms. Erler?
Yes.
Ms. Faxon?
Yes.
Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Okay, now we will vote on the motion that was pulled out, which is to approve the personnel recommendation 3A. Discussion. Judy?
I'm actually going to vote yes for this individual hire, just because I've actually gone through a teaching certification program like this, and it's for next year, so they'll be well into it. Typically, they're a year, year and a half, and so my guess is that she is going to be very close to her official certification. So it's not somebody off the street without a bachelor's that just has experience. So that's my personal take on it.
Is there a caveat that if it is not completed by a certain date, her contract is null and void? I mean, can you incorporate that? Because just because you're signed up for the program doesn't mean you're going to
Correct.
finish it.
Correct, yeah. If she does not receive a license, she can't teach. So, yes, by default, that's correct.
By when?
But
I'd have to check the licensing and the program on that, Kim, because I'm not sure of the date. It's also important to mention that Heather has been helping at the alternative school because those positions are very difficult to fill. She's currently in EA that's been assisting with that at the school, and she has, I mean, just with the Mr. Jackson, the principal there, with him working with her, helping her, them talking with her, having conversations with her. She has decided that she is going to go forward and get her teaching license so that she can teach and assist those students in that school. That has been a position that's been very difficult to fill. Personally, I would rather grow from within. I mean, we have employees that have proven themselves. They've worked with our students, and she has gone through the extra steps to become licensed in order to teach in the classroom.
If I could also add one quick comment, too. She has a degree in psychology, which could come in handy at the Charles Fernandez Center, working with those kids.
It does come in handy, yes.
Lisa?
I commend her for committing to this and the need, and I appreciate it and all of that. I'm just saying, if we had a policy per se that this is what we wanted, then we should abide by it. Otherwise, we shouldn't have it. We should amend that.
Kim?
Basically, that's the same thing I was going to say. With working at the university, and the Stevens Point was known as a teaching. I know some of the kids that are students that are going through and trying to get their teaching degree. It's not easy. Not saying that she's going to fail, but again, the board set a policy or their verbal consent that we were going to do this, and now we're going backwards. That doesn't sit right with me because it seems like we have a policy, but this board doesn't ever want to adhere to their policy. So, which, I mean, anybody that wants to teach this day and age, we should take them, but we want to make sure that they are, I don't want to say educated because she's educated, but we as a board decided that that was a priority to us. So I guess we should research to see how that policy was written.
Can I ask, can you tell me what policy that is?
And maybe it's not a policy, maybe it was just a discussion that we had as a board.
I mean, I very clearly remember having a discussion for teachers on call, and
This wasn't teachers.
We as a board had a discussion when the legislature came out.
and that was regarding teachers on call.
No, the legislature came out and approved, in the most recent budget bill, allowing districts to hire for a very narrow exception with experience. Initially, it was everyone, and then it was with respect to tech ed, I believe, is the one area. And there's currently actually a bill being circulated in the Capitol to allow it to go into home ec type programs. And we as a board went on record at the time indicating that we wanted to hire licensed teachers for our district. We did not approve a policy. We made a statement as a board that that's what we wanted.
And I would just say that I think HR will know that probably since we've been short at the alternative high, I keep asking that question, when will we be hiring someone? When will we? Because there's a great need over there. And I think someone who has worked there, someone who's willing to move forward and is being recommended, I'm not saying we need to do this with every person, but I think there's a definite need at that school, so I absolutely am going to support this.
Any other comments?
I guess.
Sam has a comment.
Oh, Sam, I'm sorry. Did you have a comment?
I just, you all know how I am about policies. And this is very difficult for me because we did vote and we did say, this is what we want. Sometimes you have to be a little flexible. And as much as it drives me crazy, I will be supporting hiring her.
That's because you're a gold, Sam.
Thanks. But no, we need to look at what we're saying, and we do accept that we've had principals, superintendents apply who can get their license eventually, and we give them time to do that. And I think we should do the same thing with her.
Kim.
I don't know this lady, and I'm sure she's great, and I love that she's coming forward. However, that's telling me that the board's word means nothing, so I won't vote for her, just because of that. When she comes back with this degree or a certificate, super. But no, because the board's word means nothing anymore, and that's sad, so.
Jeff?
And except for the driving me crazy part, I have to agree with Sam that, now this isn't a policy. We don't have a policy on this, but I do recall the discussion. And even if it was a policy, we have given ourselves the authority to suspend policy when it needs to be done. And I think this is a very appropriate point, even if it was a policy. By our vote, by approving this, we are basically agreeing to suspend that in this case. So I don't see any problem at all. I appreciate having policies and understandings, but sometimes situations demand that we consider that. So that's why we left that in there.
I'm going to support this position as well. It's a difficult position to fill. We've had a difficult time with it. Unfortunately, I think we're going to begin to see more and more of it, as many of our rural schools already are. And I would like to encourage employees who are interested in furthering that just as we encourage our teaching staff to go on for that master's and doctorate, and we support them in doing that, I would like to encourage EAs or whoever in our district. I trust that she'll be moving forward with this. She's got to be licensed to teach, and so I will be supporting it.
Just one more quick question. Are we paying for it?
No. I think she's eligible for the credit reimbursements, so.
So we are
As
paying
a
for it.
teacher, so we, yeah.
I would love to do that. Okay, let's vote.
Okay. Sue, do you want to call the roll?
Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Ms. Rano?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Shear?
No.
Ms. Totten?
No.
Ms. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Ebo?
Yes.
Ms. Erler?
Yes.
Ms. Faxon?
Yes.
Passes 7-2.
Item 9E3, IT Department Staff Restructuring.
So I'm here to talk about a presentation that was given to the HR committee this week, and it has been separated in two separate action items, so I ask you to take note of that. The first part is with department restructuring. Recently, our technology manager, Mr. Thrun, resigned to pursue a career in private industry, and we thank him for his service, and we wish him well. That has left us with a problem to solve and a hole to fill, which is that technical know-how and the workload that he was responsible for. As a department, we looked through a lot of options that we had, number one being replacing that position, and looking at our current staffing and what would make sense for the district, we felt that that wasn't our best option. We felt that adding another administrator was not the way to go. am already serving in the capacity as an administrator in that department, and I would be able to make up all the administrative duties that Mr. Thrun previously took care of, including all personnel, budget, decision-making, and those types of things. We looked at our technical expertise, and we found that we do currently have a lot of know-how in our department. What we're asking to do is create a technical leadership group that would allow us to give more roles and responsibility to 3 people in the department to take over the duties of the previous technology manager. Now that plan, we feel, is a very good plan because, first of all, it's going to make us more efficient. We have a lot of redundancy then in our leadership. Instead of having 1 person, we have 3. We think it's going to make us more effective as a team. We already work very collaboratively together, and we feel this brings us closer together at that level. And finally, it saves money. By not replacing that position and divvying out those roles and responsibilities for technical leadership, we will be saving the district $20,000. So I'm here to answer any questions that you might have on that plan and go from there.
So this motion involves the 3 individuals that are going to be taking over the responsibilities and duties of the position that Jerry Thrun occupied.
That's correct.
And they will be having job responsibilities, duties, authority added to their current positions. And so Brian is requesting that they went out and did a search of market analysis of IT comp for comparable positions, and he is recommending that those individuals, that we approve the new job descriptions and that we approve the increase, recognizing that those jobs are different jobs moving forward than they currently occupy.
And those job descriptions were provided to the board, too. We have other job descriptions as well that do not involve pay increases, but they're also part of, that's a separate issue. But for these 3 positions, they have been rewritten to include the additional responsibilities.
Let's get a motion on the floor. Do I have a motion?
Yep.
Angels?
Find it. To approve the restructuring of the technology services with salary adjustments and new job descriptions for the 3 technical leadership group positions as presented.
Do I have a second? Second by Judy. Okay, discussion. Lisa?
Okay, I'm confused why the reorganization is coming to us if you've done other reorganization and that doesn't come to us. So, I mean, and I know there's been changes in food service where, you know, they've cut hours and they've distributed duties and stuff, so I'm confused as to why that portion has to come to us.
I believe since it involves job descriptions and salary ranges, that was deemed to be at the board level for approval.
Okay. We actually had a conversation about that with the superintendent, and we talked about whether or not it needed to come in front of the board. But we had just recently reorganized the superintendent's office, and that request was brought forward to the board because we wanted the board to be aware of what was happening in terms of the restructuring, in terms of where those additional dollars were going. And
But
therefore,
that had to do with our position also as a secretary. I mean, that was changing the board secretary, so, you know, our staffing was involved in that.
well, it was reorganizing the superintendent's office.
Okay.
But, so, I mean, so frankly, we erred on the side of wanting to bring it in front of the board so that the board was aware of what was happening. I mean, if the board believes that we don't need to vote on this, you know, we'll be happy not to have it as an action item. But again, we wanted to make sure that people weren't, you know, after the fact, going to hear Brian did this and additional people got dollars and there would be concerns raised. So we wanted everyone to be very aware because it's taking, you know, as he indicated, it's taking an existing position, eliminating that position and distributing those job duties to frankly try to create a more robust, better organized, cross-trained department, and frankly allow some opportunity for advancement within a field that's pretty important with IT. I mean, it's a pretty competitive field.
Lisa still has
Lisa?
And I mean, I appreciate that. My concern is that we have done it in other areas in the district that haven't come forward and they haven't been compensated for their additional responsibilities and their additional work. You know, our teaching staff outside of pods, their ratios to students to teachers are much higher, and you know,
This is different, Lisa.
I know,
This is a new
but
job. It's a new job.
Yeah.
okay, but
Jobs.
what I'm trying to say is there are money savings in reorganization in the food service and stuff, for example, and the savings that were realized were not redistributed for the additional responsibilities. Now here, while, you know, Casey, you've done a great job fighting for or coming forward for your people, reclassifying them, doing all of that, which is what it takes to give them a raise. Well, that isn't what all our administrative staff does. So what I'm just saying is, if we're doing it for one group, then we should be doing it for another, and if we're talking about all this money, we might possibly lose, while, I mean, I'm okay with you just, you know, the job has to be done, you have to restructure all of that, but the pay increase, I think those are two separate things, and like I said, I mean, the unfortunate reality is that everybody's had to do more than what they've done in the past, so.
That's why it's in front of us, because what is in front of us right now is a reorganization, restructuring with 3 new jobs. It's not 3 old jobs and they've taken on a little bit of additional work. It's 3 new jobs within this department.
Well, I just want to add that at the HR committee, the way that it came to us was the reorganization plus a pay plan component, which was really nicely put together. But I had a conversation actually with Florence and said, I couldn't I couldn't support one department having a pay plan moving forward without the entire district pay plan moving forward, because I just don't think it would be fair to everybody. So I actually asked her, could we separate those? And I'm not sure, I don't know if I had any influence on that or not, but I'm just glad to see this the way that it is, and I will completely support this, and quite frankly, I think it's a good thing you brought it to the board. I think any reorganization should be brought to the board. I appreciate that, and I'm going to support this, as I will also support the pay plan that you put together when it comes forward with the entire district pay plan.
Sam?
You people are killing me today.
Having to agree with us?
I seem, I agree with this, okay, but I seem to recall a letter I got not too long ago from a teacher who got a master's degree back in 2011, and she hasn't been moved up yet. And when I asked Florence about it, she said, well, we don't have the ability to do that because we don't have any rules on that. But here we're giving people in the superintendent's office extra money, we're giving other people extra money, we're giving them extra money. Okay, it's a different job. Getting a master's degree from a bachelor's is pretty important. And I think I will support this today, but I think either the board or HR has to get moving and make it so that our other employees, our other employee groups are able to move where they're supposed to be too. That's all I'm requesting.
I would just like to respond. When Mr. Levin and I had that conversation, what I said was that it would depend on the individuals, and to my knowledge, I do not believe there are teachers that received a master's degree who were not compensated at the time when they received it, either through the Carlson-Detman study when they brought people up, or they receive a percentage increase when they move up. So it would be the individuals, and we would have to look at it. Not that we didn't have money to do it, but there are processes in place to do it. But without knowing the specifics, I could not respond specifically to.
Yeah, 5 years is a long time.
Well, like I said, I'm not sure that she didn't receive one because we don't know the specifics on that, so.
You had your...
Yep, my question, because you have exceptional talent right now, and I agree, you do, are you comfortable that you'd be able to fill these positions in the future as defined? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I can't answer that. I guess having better job descriptions, having higher salary ranges would definitely help. I don't think there's any guarantees now about filling positions. It's a very competitive market. We know what the prevailing wages are in the area. We did our market analysis locally, regionally, and even nationally. I couldn't answer that.
Do you feel like this helps us be more competitive?
I do. I think the main benefit that we have is that we're retaining our staff. We're not losing staff. If I had to go out and replace one of these positions, I know that we would have to pay at least this, if not higher. Likewise with the technology manager position, I wouldn't, if I had to go out and refill that position, I wouldn't be guaranteed that we could get someone to come in and do that job for the wage it is right now. I do think this is a great solution for the district that saves us money and also retains our staff and creates a great structure. So we're not heavily reliant on one position now. We're distributing that technical know-how and leadership to 3 positions.
Chris, you had your...
Actually, Brian he answered my question. Talking to a couple of the business leaders, technology positions are really difficult to fill. There's such a demand for these positions that Brian's talking about in that, and we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in a really complex system for laptops, and we need people who know what they're doing, and you can't have somebody just coming out of school having the experience, especially the way, we've got different schools, we've got different, it's not only our laptops, we have a lot of different,
Software.
Thank you. software and that, and we have to have that kind of wage.
Judy?
Oh, I was just going to say, looking out at our IT people, so if we do this, can we have you sign that you're going to stay for a certain number of years?
Kim?
Well, if you are creating new jobs, and I apologize, are you posting them then? Or are you just rolling these people in? Because if you're creating new jobs, should we not post them?
I think that would exacerbate the situation. I think we would be asking to upset the apple cart as it is, and I don't think we would get what we're expecting to have, which is efficient IT operations and retaining our staff. Those job descriptions do reflect a substantial increase in duties that will require extra time, extra work, and additional training.
And as I said in HR, I mean, kudos to you, you guys all owe your boss, or your manager here, kudos for fighting for you, and I say that. But if you're restructuring and you're creating new jobs, boy, that should be posted. I think it's very unfair just to roll somebody up, but I went through that when we did it somebody else. Restructuring, I'm for it. I don't have a problem with it. But giving someone, one of our groups, departments, a pay plan when we have been working years on the rest of the departments. Maybe you should help the other administrators do that and get everybody and do the pay plan for everybody at the same time.
Kim, this isn't the pay plan. That's the next,
No, but his
that's the next
restructuring,
motion.
his
No, it's the
restructuring
next-
and his new pay plan is his pay plan for your
It's the
group,
next
which is really
motion,
great.
Kim.
So if you could work it all together and work everybody's together, that's what I'm trying to say. So I am tired of seeing our departments pinned up against each other when it comes to negotiations or someone gets ahead of the other ones. We should be working as a group. We all work to get our students to graduate, to be better students and people for our community. I do have a question here, though, because I was at the HR meeting, and now you're saying, because back then you're saying you were going to take 33,000 and put it into salary. Now you're saying you're only going to use 12,000 or 13 if I round it up? So you're going to be giving back, and giving back is kind of a weird word, but it's going to roll back into the budget, 20,000. Is that correct?
I didn't understand your question.
Oh, well, you were shaking your head. At the committee meeting, you said you were going to take the extra 33,000 after the salary increases, and you were going to take the 33,755 and put that back into your employees.
And at that point, that's where we decided to separate the two, because it was asked what specific employees were getting those. We did not have that planned out. We were asked for specifics, and that's where we came up with this plan and separated the two.
Okay, and thank you, because I requested that, what positions, their current salary, and thank you. I didn't get the percentages, but I know I could figure them out.
It was not defined at that point. We knew that one step was moving a technician from the Century Grant back to the district. We felt that was appropriate to do, and that was the difference. The 30,000 was the difference between the salary and benefits of the position that was eliminated and doing that. As far as that went, we didn't have any of the specifics outlined, and when the specifics were asked about, that's when we decided to decouple the two action items and provide that detailed list.
Okay, so you're still technically going to use the whole 33,755?
No.
No, just the 1290?
Yes.
12.9. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I understood your comeback.
This motion involves $12,925.20. That's what this motion involves.
Correct. And I apologize, because I'm not going to support this, which isn't really going to make a difference, because it's going to be 7-2 anyways. I will support the restructuring, but not the salary increase, because they're doing it by themselves, not with the whole school district. That's the only reason. Not that you're not worthy of it. It's just that I want to see all of us move forward together and not in pieces.
Can I just make an offer from the county perspective? In the IT department at the county, they had to reclassify multiple positions about 6 months ago, and there was a certain amount of the same discussion at the county level about why should some departments get reclasses and not others. And the bottom line was from Al Hawker, the county IT director, was that because he can't hire IT people for what we were going to be paying them. I'm not an IT person, but I just offer that as that's what happened at the county 6 months ago in trying to replace. I think we had 3 positions all at the same time to refill. And it was very difficult.
We're not refilling.
Well,
so we're not refilling these positions.
We're lucky that we have good people.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that they're not doing their job. I'm not saying that they're bad people. I just want us, again, to move together as a group, and we're not.
So, Sue, why don't you call the roll? Yeah.
Mr. Ebel?
Yes.
Ms. Erler?
Yes.
Ms. Faxon?
Yes.
Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Ms. Rano?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Sherrill?
No.
Ms. Totten?
No.
Ms. Baker?
Yes.
Passes 7-2.
Item 9E4, IT Department restructuring of pay plan.
So this is the second part of what we're proposing, and I'd like to say first off, it's not what you would consider a full pay plan. What we're calling this is a professional development model. What I have to explain is that we're trying to do something with our department that's very unique. And as Ms. Baker had already stated in front of the board, our department is very unique. Right now we have 8 individuals in the department that are responsible for the IT operations of 1,000 staff members and 7,200 students in 16 different locations. I try to do a good job of outlining those roles and responsibilities and the current climate that we're in. Given that information, the professional growth model that we would put forward is very unique. It is different from other groups. We're not trying to say that we're better than other groups, and we're not trying to say that we deserve any better, but we do have to address the current reality of the world that we live in. Our IT staff has been really frustrated by the lack of a clear, goal-oriented career path in the district. What is it that when I come to the district I will be able to do? If you're an IT technician starting here, is there a future? What do I start at? What do I end at? That's part of the pay. But what's more important is the employee engagement. We're looking at offering our staff the opportunity to engage in meaningful professional development, and that's something we've struggled with for years. We've tried to do numerous things. By having a plan that recognizes what they do on the job, looking at their experience with work systems, looking at professional development and cross-training that they've done, and also innovative practices that they will add to the department, we'd like to put together a comprehensive professional growth model. At this time, what we're asking the board to do is approve the model so that we can begin the professional development. There is no wage increase proposed for this year. If we're allowed to start, we will be one of the first groups in the district to start doing this. And I believe that our department is small enough and unique enough that we could start this and use this as a model for other groups. So rather than detracting from what other groups are trying to do, we could really provide a service to the district in looking at this at a smaller level in a model. So what that would do is provide the rest of the staff, besides the staff that were in part of the restructuring, the opportunity for career advancement. And I don't mean just money. Because in the IT business, it's not just about, what I make per hour. It's, do I have the opportunities to collaborate with other people, to learn and grow, learn new skills? If we tell someone you're going to come in, you're going to be a laptop technician, and that's all you're ever going to do, we're never going to retain them. We know we have very smart, dedicated staff, and they want to learn other roles and responsibilities. We just don't really have a way to organize that and recognize it, and that's really what we're looking to do. So as part of that plan, we have new job descriptions, which outline the roles and responsibilities, and we have a system of annual review that would be put into place. What I'm asking the board to do is to approve those job descriptions and approve our plan with the understanding that there will be no wage increases this year. We would have the opportunity to do so in the future, but that is entirely dependent upon the financial picture of the district. There are no guaranteed raises in this plan. Nothing is guaranteed if the district does not have money. So it's the framework of a plan, and we feel very strongly that it's a good plan. I have the unanimous support of our department. We presented this to the Technology Steering Committee. They were also very supportive, and also the cabinet level. So we've had a lot of discussion about it, and I think by allowing us to start with it, we could actually begin that process of what the board wants to do in instituting pay plans. And with 8 people, it's a lot easier to do than to try and figure something out for every single group in the district, or a group that's much larger. And I would argue that our group is a little more unique than a bus driver, for example, or someone that works in food service, or an educational assistant. Not that their jobs are not important, they're very important, but I think we have this opportunity, and I really would like to seize upon it and make that work.
So, could we get a motion on the floor?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve this as written. I don't know where it went.
That's mine, and I'll second it.
It's to approve the concept of the IT professional growth plan and new job descriptions as presented, with no compensation changes for employees outside of the technical leadership group for the 2015-2016 fiscal year.
Yes, that.
Okay, motion by Judy, second by Chris. Discussion. Judy, you had your hand up.
The one thing I like about this is if we move forward with the pay plan, it allows different departments and areas of the group to actually take ownership of some of their points and how they're going to actually develop themselves. So I think it's, me personally, I think it's a good model, like you said, use, and they could customize some of their professional development points for their needs.
Trish?
I just want to reiterate what I said earlier. I support what you've done, and I really like it, and I think I said that at the HR committee. I just can't support it until the entire district is done. I'm glad that your piece is done, and it'll be easy to fit that into the rest of the pay plan as a separate department. I also agree with Judy that it's great that different departments are able to move forward, but you know, there's this perception that we do for certain departments and we don't do for everybody, and I don't want to do anything to perpetuate that. So I'm not going to vote for it, but I want you to understand why I'm not voting for it. I actually like what you've done, and I support it. I just want to see it fit into the entire pay plan for the entire district staff.
I do want to clarify, right now, what the district has been working on is a supplemental pay plan for teachers, period. Not district, it's not, that's where, so again, that's just a clarification that, at least for me, I'm not aware of us looking at a proposed supplemental plan other than the teachers, and now this technology IT department has come forward.
So can I ask a question? So is the board interested in a pay plan for everybody, all employees at once?
Well,
because I've heard that several times.
That was a discussion when we paid $60,000 for the.
Like
that's what the Carlson
special IDAs, we were told were way underpaid how many years ago?
That wasn't a supplemental pay plan.
And
That,
I think
that-
we're
you're confusing,
off
you're
agenda.
confusing a compensation study with a supplemental plan. This is a quote, a bonus plan. I mean, this is individual employees working towards the creation of additional compensation for themselves based on what they as individuals do within their particular job. That's totally separate and apart from Carlson Detman, which was a salary study. It was a wage study. It was what classifications of employees should be receiving. So I think we need to be very clear. What we're talking about tonight is very similar. In fact, it's based off the model of what Florence, Tom Owens, teachers, what they have been working towards in terms of the development of a supplemental pay plan, not a wage scale schedule.
Exactly, and that was
That's
why I
just
voted no on
clarification.
the last item, because that's exactly what it was.
Chris?
So I would agree both with Judy and where Trish is coming from. But exactly what you said, the supplemental pay and this is not the same thing. The other thing is, when we went to a workshop a number of years ago and or a year ago, whenever, and came back talking about what we would like to see, and I saw this, this, in my mind, was what I wanted to see, something like this.
Yes.
I think you've done an amazing job. I was really impressed reading how well put together this is. Part of it, I think, is it's probably easier with 8 people in a department to really define, and if you've worked in computers and IT, and I have, not these type of computers, but you kind of know the different levels and where you have to go and where you want to go with that. And I think you've described really well what we need for that department. And I don't know that you can do this with every single department, or you have to try to put it all together, or do different things for different departments. I don't know. And maybe you can't do it all at once. Maybe you can't. But I don't think that should preclude you from doing something that's right. And we're not asking for more money. We're saying there's potential, just like there's potential for, and people to come in and negotiate and get a wage. So I really like this, and I'm going to support it.
Judy? I was just going to answer your question, Dr. Bush. Yes, I'd like to see something like this that every employee would fit into, that they would have a step and ladder professional development plan that may or may not be tied to additional compensation, but there has to be some movement for them professionally.
Okay, then. It's more direction, and with I mean, a good direction, because I know it needs to be done. I mean, we initially talked at the initial retreat, it was pay plan. It wasn't just for teachers, it was for everybody, and we were aware of that. And so we've already started working on a couple of the other major job classifications in this district. So we've got something going, but because there's so many people, we're talking about custodians, bus drivers, clerical, support services, administrators, we've got all of these different branches. To get it all done at once, I don't know that that's going to happen. Things do have to come to you, I think, in pieces. This is one piece here tonight. You're going to get a teacher pay plan within, it's certainly the next 2 months. By April, you're going to have that, because we're finalizing those things now. We're getting conversations at all of the schools personally with them. So that's going to come as well. But then you still have all the others out there. So you're not going to get it all at once. It's not going to happen that way.
And I also think it's important to remember that we don't do things all at once. I mean, if you look at the next item on the agenda, there are people that have already received that increase, and there are people that have not. I mean, that's just the way it goes. We'll negotiate with one group, then we negotiate with the next, so we don't negotiate everybody all at one time and then move them all up. We always have done it in pieces.
Okay, Sue, why don't you call the roll?
Ms. Baker?
No.
Mr. Ebel?
Yes.
Ms. Erler?
Yes.
Ms. Faxon?
Yes.
Mr. Levine?
No.
Ms. Rano?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Sherrick?
No.
Ms. Totten?
No.
Passes 5-4.
Thank you, Brian. Moving on to item 9E5, wage increase 0.65% non-exempt employees for 2014-2015.
Move for approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Scott and Ebel. Discussion?
Second.
So is this at-will the wage that was just approved on the IT, do they get the .65 on top of that?
Good question.
You mean what we just passed? There is no.
No, before that. There was a motion before that.
Right, under the restructuring model, those 3 employees will receive compensation. So the question is, should they also get this .65 on top of that new thing?
Correct.
Well, this is 14-15.
It's retroactive to 14-15.
This is 14-15.
Oh, I apologize.
Yes, this is 14-15, so.
Yeah, it's retroactive to 14-15.
You had me with you, though.
You're welcome, Flo.
But you know what I'm saying? I'm like,
I was with you, too. I forgot for a minute it was 14.
Yeah. We never did ask when did that other pay raise start, but that's right.
Okay. Any comments? Okay, could you call the roll, Sue?
Mr. Levine?
Yes.
Ms. Rano?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Sherrill?
Yes.
Ms. Totten?
yes.
Ms. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Eagle?
Yes.
Ms. Furler?
Yes.
Ms. Baxter?
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 9E6, renewal of administrator contracts. Do I have a motion?
You good. Motion to approve administrator contracts as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Angel. Motion by Scott. Discussion.
I
Lisa?
would like to amend that motion to make them 1-year contracts instead of 2.
Do I have a second to that amendment?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to make the contracts a 1-year contract versus a 2-year contract. Any discussion?
Why would we do that?
Why? Because of the whole discussion that we just had on the budget and the need for the boards to have flexibility and to reorganize and restructure. We have our at-will employees, which is essentially everybody other than teaching and administrative staff who, they don't know from year to year. Teachers have a 1-year contract. If we give administrators 1-year contract, again, that gives the board the flexibility if our legislative bodies choose not to support our education, all it does is give the future board a little more flexibility. That's the only
It
reason.
seems to me, and the negotiating committee, we've been told we can only negotiate 1 year at a time with the teachers. And for many, many years, the administrators and teachers were tied together. We'd settle with the teachers for one sum, and then we'd settle with the administrators for one price, settle with the teachers for another one that was higher, and the administrators had to be brought up to be equal to them. So let's make it equal. Teachers can only negotiate 1 year at a time, administrators 1 year at a time.
I just want to clarify that the 1 year is a requirement of the legislature. That's a law that the legislature passed with Act 10, so the district is not legally able to negotiate more than 1 year because our legislature has not, doesn't allow us to do that. I want to clarify for the record, that's why the district only negotiates 1-year contracts at a time. Chris?
I was going to, Dr. Bush, could you speak to that? Administrator, 2-year
I'll wait
contracts in the
till-
state of Wisconsin.
Well, as far as what, legally?
No, not legally, but practice.
Practice?
From your.
I don't know of any districts that have 1-year contracts for administrators. I mean, maybe it exists. I just don't know of any.
Because the discussion has happened before, and anyone at an administrative level, from what I know of, is not accepted unless it's a mutual circumstance for less than 2 years. One of the things we do have, I believe, in the contracts is should the board decide to move an administrator to a different position, that we legally, that we can do that.
Then we have to pay them at the rate that they're getting, yeah.
I move to call the question
Do I have a second?
on the amendment.
Wait, I can't remember with calling the question. I think we vote on
You
it.
need to have a 2/3.
Yeah. Okay, so we're calling the question on the amendment.
Yes.
Okay, could you call the roll? Sue?
Ms. Baker,
No.
you don't want to call the question?
No, I want to call a question.
I'm the one that's
Okay, okay. Sue, good.
1 point for Sue.
Yes.
I've been tutoring her.
Ms. Early,
Yes.
Ms.
Flip flopper.
Yes.
Mr. Levine,
No.
This is just to call the question, Sam, to
Okay.
vote on the amendment.
Yeah, well, with that.
Randall,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Sherrick,
No, because I'm not quite sure if anybody has anything else to say.
Ms. Totten.
No.
It does pass 6-3. Question.
See, you can't call a question until everybody's had a chance to speak on
That
it.
is correct.
Yep.
That's in Roberts,
Yep.
but that's okay.
Okay. Let's,
We don't follow rules.
let's take a roll on the motion.
The amendment.
The amendment to the motion, excuse me.
Ms. Totten,
Yes.
Ms. Baker,
No.
Mr. Ebo,
No.
Ms. Earler,
No.
Ms. Faxon.
No.
Mr. Levine,
Yes.
Ms. Rano,
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Ms. Scott,
I'm sorry. You're gonna have to repeat that.
it's amending the admin contracts from 1 year to, from 2 years to 1 year.
No.
No? Ms. Sherrick,
Yes.
it does not, the amendment does not pass.
5-4.
5-4.
Okay,
Told you that.
so we have the original motion, which is to approve the administrator contracts.
So these, from my understanding, there's no changes to these contracts. They're the same as they were previously, 2 years ago or whatever.
100 years.
100 years, I don't know that
Well,
they've
because I
been here that
just because I
long.
tried to make changes last year, and oh my God, heaven forbid you make any changes to them.
Okay.
So I will be voting against them because there's still no changes in there that I believe need to be changed. So, but they haven't been changed in years.
So Sue, do you want to call the roll?
Sure, Ms. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Ebo,
Yes.
Ms. Earler,
Yes.
Ms. Faxon,
Yes.
Mr. Levine,
Yes.
Ms. Rano,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Sherrick,
No.
Ms. Totten,
No.
passes 7-2.
Okay, there was no policy and legislative committee, so Angel doesn't get to give a report, sorry. Item 10, the meeting dates and times are listed. Just a reminder, special board meeting, superintendent search, February 29th, 2016, very important. If you can be here, that would be incredible. And then, of course, committee meetings, and then our regular March board meeting is going to be on Monday, March 14th.
Meg,
Yes.
can I ask a question? I have the schedule that you set out with the superintendent search guidelines. Are there any other solid dates you absolutely know of that we,
Just that the resumes are all going to be available for you to access on the, 13th?
16th.
16th of the month,
Till the
10
26th.
days to rank them, and then you can do it online, or you can contact Sarah and get a paper copy. So that's what's coming up.
You can do it now. You can go in there and view it now.
can do it
You don't have to wait till then. And I think someone needs to go and clean that up.
We don't have all the deadline isn't.
The deadline is
No,
the
they can
16th.
still But they can-
Deadline's
yeah.
the
We-
15th.
You can go in there and look at them,
Take a
because
look
I
at
did
them.
this last
Look
weekend.
at
You can go in there and look and,
Oh, yeah. As you
they come in.
apply.
which, Dr.
goes
Bush, I
in
gotta
there.
talk to you about that when we take a break, because
Okay, so
in there.
I need a motion to go into no other though.
I can tell you 2 other dates.
Okay.
The April 6th and 7th are 2 dates that you're going to have to be here.
all day?
No, those would be evening things.
I'm sorry, what dates?
April 6th and 7th.
April.
6th and 7th.
And what is that for?
Well, it's for making the final decision on the,
When's the election?
What's meet and greet superintendent candidates are 4th through the 8th on this one that was in our green folder.
and that's why the 6th and the 7th are
Okay.
Or the meet and greet? Is that
part
what
of
you're
the,
telling me?
yes, the final interviews, final meet and greet.
what time on the 6th?
I don't know, Sam. I'll get more information to all of you. Sarah and I are meeting tomorrow to look at all of it. There's a lot of dates still and times left.
Okay, I need a motion to go into closed session under 1985, paren 1, paren E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically 2015, 2016, and 2016, 2017, negotiations with SPAEA, AFSCME, and Teamsters, specifically strategies and offers. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Trish, do I have a second?
Second.
Angel?
Can I just ask for clarification? Are we actually going to be talking about that first half in closed session? Because sometimes it's on there and it shouldn't be on there.
A public property.
We're just talking about negotiating. That's
Okay,
the
so we're
only thing in
not
there.
doing,
Nope.
okay.
Nope. Okay, Sue, call the roll.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Sheridan?
I prefer to do this in open session, but no, it can be done in closed. No.
Ms. Totman?
I'm not here. I'm gone.
You recused yourself.
No, I didn't recuse.
She's not on the
Excuse.
bargaining
Ms. Baker?
unit.
Yes.
Mr. Ebo?
Yes.
Ms. Early?
Yes.
Paxton?
Yes.
I can put that on there.
Ms. Randall?
Yes.
Passes 8-1.
7-1. Okay, well, let's take about a 10-minute
I don't know why.